Chapter 8:17. Truth-Crossing Cauldron? Ning Fan was slightly startled. In the four heavens, cauldrons and Tao fruits of true immortal realm were extremely rare. Almost no force would sell them. Although female cultivators at the Truth-Crossing realm were at the first realm of the true immortal realm, they were still considered as giants in the eastern heavens. No force would be strong enough to sell female cultivators at this level. Moreover, after reaching the Truth-Crossing realm, not just any female cultivator could be used as a cauldron. Not just any cultivation method could be used to pluck a truth-crossing female cultivator. This was related to Tao. Every truth-crossing cultivator had their own Tao. Since they had different Tao, a careless mistake would damage their Tao. The disadvantages were greater than the advantages. The Tao of female cultivators who could be called cauldrons must be suitable for plucking. If it was an ordinary truth-crossing female cultivator, only cultivators with powerful cultivation methods would dare to pluck them. Ning Fan's yin-yang transformation was not a profound cultivation method in the eyes of the common people. However, he had the yin-yang locket. This alone could greatly increase the power of the yin-yang transformation, making it comparable to a 9 stars plucking technique. Plucking truth-crossing cauldrons was not a problem. How is it? Little friend, are you tempted? Do you need my help to snatch these cauldrons? Just say it. You really don't need to be polite with me. Second ancestor of Luo clan smiled and raised his eyebrows. Forget it. I'm afraid it's not that easy to take the cauldrons of Chen clan. Ning Fan smiled and shook his head, rejecting second ancestor's good intention. Chen clan of Eastern Heavens was a major force in the Godly Void Pavilion. Moreover, they had a strong foundation among the elders of the 4 pavilions. If he snatched the cauldrons of Chen clan, he would most likely become enemies with them. He might even offend some of the elders behind them. Before the end of the tomb competition, Ning Fan did not want to cause any unforeseen events just for a few truth-crossing cauldrons. With his intermediate Ghost Profound Realm cultivation base, he would not be able to break through to the late Ghost Profound Realm, even if he plucked 3 to 5 truth-crossing cauldrons. If he could pluck more than 10 Duzhen cauldrons in one go, he would have the confidence to break through to the late Jin realm. However, he didn't think that the Chen family would raise such a large number of Duzhen female cultivators as cauldrons. Yeah, the cauldron of the Chen family is really hard to take. In recent years, the Chen family and the 8th elder have been getting closer. We can't underestimate them like we used to. The moment the 8th elder was mentioned, the Luo clan's second ancestor's eyes darkened slightly. Indeed, he fell silent. No one knew what he was thinking. After thinking for a while, he chatted with Ning Fan for a while and left. However, before he left, the second ancestor of the Luo clan invited Ning Fan to head to the Western Heaven Immortal World together, if he has the time to snatch a few Buddhist maidens for fun. This suggestion was naturally rejected by Ning Fan. The Western Heaven Immortal World was so far away, and it viewed the ancient devil as an enemy. Naturally, he wouldn't go there. Compared to the 6th ancestor, the second ancestor is an interesting person. Ning Fan shook his head and entered the Stone Guardian Palace alone. Luo Shi was already waiting for him when he arrived at the main hall. At this moment, Luo Shi was standing in the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. His back was facing Ning Fan, and he was looking at an ancient painting on the wall. His expression was filled with nostalgia. The scene in the painting was that of an endless demonic Qi mountain range. At the top of the mountain stood an arrogant black-faced burly man. Behind the burly man was a young servant. The young servant's facial features were somewhat similar to Luo Shi's. As for the arrogant black-faced burly man, he looked extremely similar to the portraits of the Battle King that were hung everywhere in the Luo clan. Without a doubt, this scene was Luo Shi thinking of his master after seeing the painting. This scene suddenly made Ning Fan recall some things in the past. At this moment, Luo Shi's back seemed to have a hint of loneliness, which reminded Ning Fan of someone he knew. That person was Lu Wun'er's master. He was the demon sealer of the Luo Yun tribe, one of the 9 divisions of the Lu clan, Lu Daochen. Once upon a time, Lu Daochen also looked at the portrait of his master, Lu Wu, like this, leaving Ning Fan with only his back view. Once upon a time, Lu Daochen also did everything he could to ask Ning Fan to free his master. The difference between Luo Shi and Lu Daochen's cultivation base was like heaven and earth. However, their loyalty and longing for their master were the same. Little friend, you're finally here. Luo Shi turned around and nodded at Ning Fan with a smile. Then he said, I have been to the Blood Sea planet before and watched the disciple recruitment competition of the Slaughter Palace. I still have a deep impression of you. Devil Lord Thousand Autumns, Ning Fan. I didn't expect you to have already stepped into the second step of Dao in less than 100 years, and even become a profound ghost realm cultivator. Such a cultivation speed really astonishes me. You flatter me, Clan Lord. I don't deserve your praise. Ning Fan cupped his fist slightly and bowed to Luo Shi. Then his expression changed. He vaguely remembered that the ninth elder of the Godly Void Pavilion was one of the old monsters who watched the competition of the Slaughter Palace in the past. He did not expect that the other party would still remember a junior like him. Before I returned to the Luo clan this time, I heard some news from the Divine Tomb. They said that Devil Lord Thousand Autumns appeared in the world within the tomb, and broke the heavenly tomb alone, shocking Yuan Kuang with a single sword strike. After that, I received a message from Luo Xiao saying that he recommended a foreign elder named Ning Fan. In just 3 months, he had already cultivated his first trace of battle flames. At that time, I was thinking that this foreign elder was most likely you, little friend. When I returned to the Luo clan, I was really surprised. However, little friend still surprised me. If I'm not mistaken that day, the punch that you used to destroy the Violet Silk City seemed to have touched the Tao of War. When he said that, Luo Shi's eyes suddenly lit up. He could naturally see that Ning Fan had just touched the power of the Tao of War slightly. He did not have the ability to control it. However, from Luo Shi's point of view, being able to touch the edge of the Tao of War when he was still at the profound ghost realm was already enough for Ning Fan to be proud of himself. That punch was just a coincidence. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for me to use it again. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was extremely self-aware. His expression was still as calm as still water. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's get down to business. Little friend, do you understand why I kept showing goodwill to you and gave you a test? Luo Shi retracted his smile and said with a serious expression, Is it because I have enough battle potential, and I have the hope of attaining the fourth transformation of my battle art? Ning Fan's eyes turned cold and said seriously, That's right. I don't care that you injured Wang Meng. I can give you the quota of being a tomb guardian. When you're injured, I'm willing to lift the seal on the most forbidden place of the Luo clan, the Dao Marrow Secret Realm, to help you heal your injuries and improve your body refinement realm. All of this is because you're the biggest hope to save the Battle King. Just this point alone is enough for me to befriend you with all my might. I still have a question to ask you. Are you confident that you can attain the fourth transformation of my battle art within 100 years? As he said that, Luo Shi's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of sadness. He closed his eyes and muttered to himself in an inaudible voice. I've waited for 3 lifetimes and I've also been disappointed for 3 lifetimes. I'm left with the 4 lifetimes stone life. Finally, there's hope. However, Master doesn't have much time left. He only has 100 years left to live. I hope that this time, I won't be disappointed. Ning Fan naturally couldn't understand all of Luo Shi's words, but he could hear the sadness hidden deep in his heart. After thinking for a moment, Ning Fan answered, but he still didn't give a complete answer. I don't have full confidence in attaining the fourth transformation within 100 years. You don't have full confidence? Luo Shi wasn't surprised by this answer. The war god art was very difficult to cultivate. In this world, who could say that they had full confidence in cultivating the war god art? A trace of sadness flashed across Luo Shi's eyes. Then it turned into an incomparably firm belief. He said, From today onwards, my Luo clan will do our best to help little friend cultivate. Not only will it help little friend cultivate the war god art, but it will also help little friend improve his cultivation base, physical body and all other realms. Dao crystals, battle crystals, Dao fruits, pills, cultivation methods and Dao marrow. If little friend needs anything, you can directly go to the vault of my Luo clan to take them. This is a little token of my Luo clan to little friend. As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Shi's Dao sense moved. In the next moment, both of them disappeared from the Guardian Stone Palace and appeared in the forbidden area of the Luo clan's treasure vault. In this treasure vault, the Dao crystals were piled up into 4 mountains. Pills were placed in more than 10 palaces. At the end of those palaces, there was a stretch of Dao soil. Hundreds of towering trees were planted on the Dao soil. My clan still has 4 trillion Dao crystals. It's the family business left by the Battle King in the past. You can take one of the 4 mountains of Dao crystals. The remaining 3 mountains are still of great use to you. However, if you need them, you can also take all of them. As for the rest, I'll think of a way to solve it myself. Luo Shi pointed at the 4 mountains of Dao crystals. His aged voice reverberated in this empty world of the treasure vault for a long time. Ning Fan's eyes widened. Before this, he absolutely did not expect that the Luo clan would be so determined to befriend him with all their might. A mountain of Dao crystals was a total of 1 trillion Dao crystals. 4 mountains of Dao crystals were 4 trillion. If you don't want to take one yourself, I'll help you take one first. Luo Shi suddenly flicked his sleeve. One of the 4 mountains of Dao crystals that stood towering in this world was immediately gone. He kept it into his storage pouch and handed it to Ning Fan. Do you want the remaining ones? Luo Shi pointed at the remaining 3 mountains of Dao crystals and asked with a serious expression. The remaining 3 mountains of Dao crystals still needed to be used to set up formations to awaken the Battle King. Even though they were of great use to them, if Ning Fan asks for them, Luo Shi would certainly give them to Ning Fan without hesitation. Don't ask how the Luo clan's 1-star realm cultivators would cultivate without these Dao crystals. This was not within the consideration of any cultivators of the Luo clan, let alone Luo Shi. In order to awaken the Battle King, the Luo clan would do anything. No. There are already enough of them. Since the remaining 3 mountains are still of great use to me, how would I dare to take them without permission? Ning Fan calmed himself down, and his thoughts raced. Finally, his eyes flashed with determination, and he kept the storage pouch that was filled with Dao crystals. He understood that once he accepted the storage pouch, it meant that he had to fulfill Luo Shi's request with all his might. That was to cultivate the 4th transformation of his battle arts to save the Battle King. He had to treat himself as a member of the Luo clan. He had to treat saving the Battle King as a matter of utmost importance. Ning Fan was not a saint. In front of such great gifts, he would naturally be tempted. However, what really made him decide to help the Luo clan with all his might was not just these great gifts. These 1 trillion Dao crystals contained the sincerity of the Luo clan. This sincerity moved Ning Fan. Luo Shi's eyes were filled with determination to save his master at all costs. This determination moved Ning Fan even more. It was because of this that Ning Fan decided to accept the Dao crystals in the end. Since he had accepted someone's money, he had to help them eliminate their misfortune. From today onwards, saving the combat lord would become an important matter that Ning Fan kept in mind. This was Ning Fan's principle of standing in this world. Seeing Ning Fan hesitate at first, and then calmly accept the 1 trillion Dao crystals, Luo Shi immediately revealed a gratified smile. This action showed that Ning Fan had really taken the matter of the Luo clan to heart. With a thought, he brought Ning Fan to the most magnificent pill palace among all the pill palaces in the world of the treasure vault. Inside this palace, there were countless jade shelves and jade boxes filled with pills. All of the pills in the boxes were above the 9th revolution. Most of them were lead-grade pills. There were also some silver-grade and gold-grade pills, but there were not many of them. There was even an emperor-grade medicinal pill. That emperor-grade pill needs to be kept for saving the Battle King. Other than this pill, you can take any of the pills here. Luo Shi said with a serious expression. Ning Fan nodded. This time, he only took 100 or so 9 revolution lead pills, 6 9 revolution silver pills, and 1 9 revolution gold pill. The 9 revolution pills were divided into 4 grades: lead, silver, gold, and emperor grade. Once the pills enter the 9 revolution realm, there were very few pills that could improve one's cultivation base. The lead grade and silver grade pills that Ning Fan took were all pills that could improve the cultivation base of profound ghost realm cultivators. Other than that, he did not take any other pills. He did not treat the Luo clan courteously, but he did not go overboard either. Just these. Luo Shi was slightly surprised and looked at Ning Fan meaningfully. It's enough. Ning Fan said indifferently. Luo Shi nodded. Then he spread out his Dao sense and brought Ning Fan to another place. His good impression towards Ning Fan had improved once again. This young man isn't a greedy person. It's really rare for him to have such a calm attitude when facing a treasure mountain. This time, Luo Shi brought Ning Fan to the Dao soil at the end of the palace. All of the giant trees were filled with fruits. Ning Fan's expression changed immediately after taking a glance at those fruits. Every single one of those fruits were Dao fruits. They were not Dao fruits that were formed by killing cultivators. Instead, they were grown from the Dao soil. Most of the Dao fruits were just first-step Dao fruits which were useless to Ning Fan. However, there were still many Dao fruits that made Ning Fan's heart beat faster. Ning Fan roughly counted. There were more than 70 Dao fruits of life immortal realm, and all of them had already ripened. There were 15 Dao fruits of truth conversion, and 4 Dao fruits of void abandonment. I'll give all the second-step Dao fruits here to you, little friend. What do you think? Luo Shi laughed and flicked his sleeve. All the second-step Dao fruits left the giant trees and fell to the ground. Before they fell to the ground, Luo Shi had already kept all the Dao fruits into a storage pouch and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Then his eyes turned solemn. He reached out his hand and received the storage pouch. The sincerity of the Luo clan was too great. With these Dao fruits and the pills that he had taken previously, he had no idea how much his cultivation base would increase. Currently, he was a 3 apertures ancient god. The effect of pills and Dao fruits to improve his cultivation base would be 8 times stronger than others. Are you satisfied with the sincerity of the Luo clan, little friend? Luo Shi asked with a smile. How would I dare to be dissatisfied? I should say that I'm starting to regret accepting the Dao crystals. Ning Fan smiled bitterly and shook his head. The gift from the Luo clan was too great. It made Ning Fan a little worried. If he could not cultivate the 4th transformation of his battle art, how should he face the Luo clan? Hehe. It's too late for you to regret it now. The things have already been taken away. Return them to me. I don't want them anymore. Luo Shi smiled and waved his hand. A stream of battle flames suddenly appeared in front of him and condensed into a fiery red jade slip. This jade slip contains the complete cultivation method of the 4th transformation of my Luo clan's battle art. Little friend, please keep it and study it slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Shi passed the jade slip to Ning Fan. Then his expression turned solemn again, and he said to Ning Fan, I've already shown the sincerity of my Luo clan to you. I wonder if you can give me a promise at this moment. I don't need you to guarantee that you can cultivate the 4th transformation. Success depends on heaven. That's not something that you can guarantee. I only want you to promise me that you will do your best. Little friend, can you promise me this? Ning Fan kept the storage pouch that was filled with Dao fruits and said to Luo Shi solemnly with cupped fists, I will do my best. Good. Luo Shi smiled satisfactorily. With a thought of his Dao sense, both of them instantly disappeared. This time, the 2 of them did not appear anywhere in the heavenly sea star. Instead, they appeared in a medium-sized world. This place was the most restricted area of the Luo clan, the Dao Marrow secret realm. Only Luo Shi and the 5 Shikong could enter freely. This place was like an ancient and gigantic karst cave. Above it, drops of spiritual liquid were constantly dripping from giant stalactites, gathering into an ocean below. At the center of the ocean below, there were 9 gigantic black cauldrons. Each of the cauldrons was filled with spiraling spiritual qi. After hundreds of thousands of years, these spiraling spiritual qi would gradually turn into drops of blood-red mucus and accumulate in the cauldrons. Those blood-red mucus were called Dao Marrow. They were a type of supreme treasure that could improve the cultivation level of one's physical body. Healing injuries was a piece of cake. At the center of the 9 gigantic cauldrons was a square-shaped sacrificial altar on the ocean. Each of the 4 corners of the sacrificial altar had a copper lamp burning with purple flames. Those purple flames were an extremely terrifying formation that would attack all cultivators who tried to approach the center of the sacrificial altar. At the center of the sacrificial altar, there was a copper coffin. Inside the coffin, there was a black-faced burly man who was in deep sleep. Battle King Luo Ho. So this is the place where the Battle King sleeps. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. The moment Luo Shi saw the copper coffin, a hint of sadness flashed across his face. He flicked his sleeve and brought Ning Fan to the periphery of the sacrificial altar. Separated by the purple flame formation, he suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to the sleeping Battle King. The corners of his old eyes instantly became moist. Shi Nu greets master. The sleeping Battle King could not hear Luo Shi's voice. However, his tone was still as respectful as before. That year he was just a devil's stone. It was the Battle King Luo Ho who granted him life. No matter how many years had passed, Luo Shi could never forget every word that Luo Ho said when he transformed from a spirit stone into a human. The 4 Lives Spirit Stone, huh? It's an extremely rare spiritual item. Since we met, it must be fate. Why can't I grant you a new life? From today onwards, you will be my slave. You will be named Shi. Are you willing to follow me to battle for a lifetime? Shi Nu is willing to follow master to battle for the heavens and earth. That year, Luo Shi, who was still a teenager, bowed to Luo Ho. This bow meant that he would never abandon his master for the rest of his life. This bow represented the awakening of his master whom he had been waiting for his entire life. Chapter 8:18. Luo Shi's face was filled with nostalgia. He knelt for a long time without getting up. While Luo Shi was kneeling on the ground, Ning Fan was secretly observing the sleeping Battle King. A trace of green light flashed in his eyes. With his eyesight that was as one with heaven, he could vaguely see the chaotic Tao of war on the Battle King's body. It was because of the existence of these chaotic Tao of war that the Battle King could not wake up. These Tao of war were the result of the power of the 4th transformation battle art in the Battle King's body being forcefully dispersed. It was Sun Luo who caused the Battle King to fall unconscious. Sun Luo's attack was merciful. Otherwise, the Battle King would not have just fallen into a deep sleep. Instead, he would have died. If I can get rid of these Tao of war, the Battle King will be able to wake up. However, in order to get rid of these Tao of war, I need the help of a cultivator, who has also cultivated the 4th transformation battle art. That's why the Luo clan needs a cultivator, who has cultivated the 4th transformation. That's also the reason why they value me so much. Ning Fan withdrew his gaze. He was already 100% sure that there was no conspiracy behind saving the Battle King. As for Luo Shi, his expression turned resolute as he stood up. With a thought, he immediately brought Ning Fan to the side of the first of the 9 black cauldrons. There were a total of 26 drops of blood-red Tao marrow in the first cauldron. This is a low-grade Tao marrow. If you consume a few drops, your physical injuries will be completely healed within a day. However, while the low-grade Tao marrow is good for healing injuries, its effect is only considered ordinary if you want to use it to improve the realm of your physical body. While Luo Shi was explaining, he took out a white jade bottle and kept all the 26 drops of low-grade Tao marrow in the first cauldron. Then, he flew to the second cauldron and kept all the 21 drops of low-grade Tao marrow in it. Then he passed the white jade bottle to Ning Fan. Feeling the vast energy inside the bottle, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with light. Luo Shi's attitude towards the low-grade Tao marrow might seem indifferent, but it was because his cultivation realm was high and his vision was also high. In fact, this low-grade Tao marrow was definitely a supreme treasure to a first-level life immortal realm body cultivator. In the Eastern Heaven immortal world, the price of a drop of low-grade Tao essence was about 1 billion Tao gems. It was not inferior to the life immortal Tao fruit, and it was often in a situation where there was a price but no supply. Even though Ning Fan's injuries were extremely severe, if he consumes a few drops of low-grade Tao marrow, his injuries would be fully healed within a short period of time. With a thought from Luo Shi, the two of them appeared before the 3rd and 4th cauldrons. Luo Shifu took out a green jade bottle and stored the Tao essence in the 2 cauldrons. In these 2 cauldrons, there were a total of 19 drops of mid-grade Tao marrow. The healing effect of a mid-grade Tao marrow is weak, but it's not weak when used to raise the realm of the physical body. After passing the green jade bottle to Ningfan, Luoshi led Ningfan to retrieve the Dao essence from the 5th and 6th cauldrons. This was a high-grade Dao marrow, and there were only 9 drops in total. For body cultivators, the value of a drop of high-grade Dao marrow is comparable to 10 void-abandoning Dao fruits. Luoshi only gave a brief explanation. Then, he passed the purple jade bottle that contained 9 drops of high-grade Dao essence to Ningfan. In the 7th and 8th cauldrons, there were a total of 3 drops of supreme-grade Dao essence. In the 9th cauldron, there was a fingernail-sized blood-red gem. Luoshi pointed at the last 3 cauldrons and said to Ningfan, "The energy contained in the supreme-grade Dao marrow, and that marrow crystal far exceeds your cultivation realm. With your current strength, there's no benefit for you to consume them. Instead, it will bring you harm instead. Besides, these items still need to be kept to treat the Battle King. Therefore, I can't give them to you. I hope you can understand." "I understand." Ningfan kept the 3 pure bottles. He was already extremely satisfied. As for the last spiritual item, he did not have any intention to covet it. As for the last spiritual items, he would need at least a cultivation realm above the void-abandoning realm to refine them. Today's harvest was enough for him to digest for a long time. Dao marrow, Dao fruit, pills, Dao crystal. The Luo clan had given him too many things. Luoshi's Dao sense moved. He brought Ningfan out of the Dao marrow secret realm, and directly appeared outside Ningfan's cave dwelling. Little friend, please consume some low-grade Dao marrow and go into seclusion to heal your injuries. I will stand guard outside the pass for little friend. After you've recovered, I'll bring you to another place." Luoshi's expression suddenly changed halfway through his words. He patted his storage pouch and took out a purple jade sound tablet. After making a hand seal towards the sound tablet and listening to the voice transmission, Luoshi's expression immediately turned solemn, and apologetically said to Ningfan, "I'm sorry. The Godly Void Pavilion is urging me to return as soon as possible. The restoration of the heaven-suppressing bell is of great importance. I'm afraid I can't bring you to that place. This is little friend's Tombkeeper token. It is enough to prove your identity. If you have the time, you can go to Ghost Weapon Sect and look for Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor to make the star-defying devil armor. This old man has already informed Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor before. He owes me a favor, and is willing to make a devil armor for you." Luoshi took out the token and a storage pouch and passed them to Ningfan. After briefly explaining to Ningfan, he hurriedly sent out his spirit sense to the 5 void-abandoning realm experts of the Luo clan, and left the Broken Halberd Peak without a trace. After Luoshi left, Ningfan scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense. After pondering for a moment, he kept the pouch. This storage pouch contained all the fragments of the star-defying boulder that he had destroyed that day. Even though the star-defying boulder was broken, it could still be smelted and used to forge the star-defying devil armor. Luoshi told Ningfan that there was only one person who knew how to forge the star-defying devil armor in the entire Eastern Sea Star region. He was the sect master of the Ghost Weapon Sect, an 8th-grade sect in the Eastern Sea. People called him the Old Ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect, and he had an early void-abandoning realm cultivation base. The Ghost Weapon Sect was a treasure refinement sect, and the Old Ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect was a senior figure in the world of treasure refinement. His treasure refinement technique was superb. Even some thought-shattering old monsters in the Eastern Heaven Immortal world would occasionally visit him and ask him to forge their magic treasures and divine weapons. Unfortunately, the Old Ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect had an eccentric personality. No matter how high the cultivation base of the visitor was, he would not forge a magic treasure for the visitor as long as he disliked the visitor. Because of his personality, he had offended many thought-shattering old monsters. However, because he had a powerful immortal king as his backer, no one dared to do anything to him even if they were dissatisfied with him. The Old Ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect once owed Luoshi a favor. 3 days ago, Luoshi sent a message to him, hoping that he could forge a star-defying devil armor for him. He had already agreed. Luoshi's original intention was to bring Ningfan to the Ghost Weapon Sect personally. Unfortunately, something came up and he had no choice but to leave first. Forging the star-defying devil armor, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. If he could forge a star-defying devil armor, he would not mind going to the ghost weapon sect alone. However, before that he still had other things to attend to. Luo Xiao was in seclusion, trying to break through to the late ghost profound realm with a drop of diluted Dao marrow. Wang Meng was also in seclusion, using his years of accumulation to heal his injuries. Ning Fan also needed to go into seclusion. Not only did he need to heal his injuries, but he also needed to borrow countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures to improve his cultivation base, his magic power cultivation base, and his ancient devil cultivation base. As soon as he returned to his cave residence, Ning Fan immediately went into the profound Yin world and consumed a drop of low-grade Dao marrow. Ning Fan spent half a day refining that drop of low-grade Dao marrow. After half a day, the severe injuries on his body had almost healed by half. What a shocking healing effect! Ning Fan's eyes lit up. He consumed another drop of Dao marrow and rapidly refined it. Half a day later, all of his injuries were completely healed. The healing effect of the low-grade Dao marrow was extremely good. Besides, after refining 2 drops of Dao marrow, Ning Fan could clearly feel that his ancient devil cultivation base that had just broken through to the next level had improved once again. After pondering for a moment, he seemed to have made up his mind. He placed the white jade bottle in front of him and continuously extracted drops of low-grade Dao marrow from it and began to refine them. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On the 24th day, Ning Fan opened his eyes. He had already refined all 47 drops of low-grade Dao marrow. With the power of the 47 drops of low-grade Dao marrow, his ancient devil cultivation base had actually advanced by more than 1/3 towards the 6th heavenly layer of the ruling star realm. This is just a low-grade Dao marrow. If it's a mid-grade Dao marrow. Ning Fan's eyes flashed slightly. He took out another green jade bottle. There were a total of 19 drops of mid-grade Dao marrow in this green jade bottle. Ning Fan bent his palm and summoned a drop of mid-grade Dao marrow. He swallowed it and refined it bit by bit. It took him 10 days to refine a single drop of mid-grade Dao marrow. However, the energy contained in this drop of mid-grade Dao marrow was more than 10 times that of a low-grade Dao marrow. 4 months later, Ning Fan refined the 12th drop of mid-grade Dao marrow. On this day, his ancient devil cultivation base broke through to the 6th heavenly layer of the ruling star realm. Another 2.5 months passed. Ning Fan had already consumed the remaining 7 drops of mid-grade Dao marrow. Currently, his ancient devil cultivation base had already advanced 1/10 towards the 7th heavenly layer of the ruling star realm. At this moment, there were still 9 drops of high-grade Dao marrow in Ning Fan's hands. They were placed inside the purple jade bottle. After stabilizing his ancient devil cultivation base, Ning Fan immediately began to refine the high-grade Dao marrow. Refining the first drop of high-grade Dao marrow directly took Ning Fan 1 month. Moreover, this speed was only achieved by relying on the profound Yin world's amplification. 3 months later, Ning Fan refined the 3rd drop of high-grade Dao marrow. His ancient devil cultivation base naturally broke through to the 8th heavenly layer of the ruling star realm. Another 6 months passed. Ning Fan had completely refined all the high-grade Dao marrow. His ancient devil cultivation base had already reached the peak of the ruling star realm. On the ground of the profound Yin world stood a 100,000 zhang tall devil god. His body was constantly emitting extremely terrifying aura force. This was an ancient devil whose cultivation base had reached the peak of the ruling star realm. With just the strength of his physical body, he could rival an early true crossing realm old monster. After the ruling star realm, it would be the heavenly devil. The heavenly devil is an existence that is equivalent to the true crossing realm. I'm still a distance away from becoming a heavenly devil. As soon as he finished speaking, the giant ancient devil's eyes flickered and he turned back into his white robes. He was none other than Ning Fan. He had already consumed all the Dao marrow. As for his physical body, he had also cultivated to the peak of the ruling star realm. The current strength of his physical body was enough to withstand all magic treasures and abilities below the true crossing realm. With his dual cultivation of magic and body, Ning Fan could definitely be considered as a strong expert within the early true crossing realm. This is just the improvement of my ancient devil cultivation base. After that, it's my magic power. Ning Fan adjusted his breathing in the profound Yin world for a few days. Then he began to refine pills one after another. He was a 3 apertures ancient god. Consuming a pill was equivalent to others consuming 8 pills. After 6 months, Ning Fan had refined a total of 122 9 transformations lead pills. However, his cultivation base only advanced by 1/5 from the late Ghost Profound realm. 3 months later, Ning Fan had refined all the silver pills and gold pills in his hands. However, there was still a huge gap between him and the late Ghost Profound realm. The effect of these pills is a little lacking. Ning Fan was slightly disappointed. After adjusting his breathing, he began to refine the life immortal Dao fruits. There were a total of 74 life immortal Dao fruits. Among them, the human Dao fruits were slightly worse, with 62 of them. The ghost Dao fruits were slightly better, with 12 of them. A year later, Ning Fan had refined all the Dao fruits. However, he was still a little bit away from the late Ghost Profound realm. Another year passed. Ning Fan had refined all the truth purification Dao fruits, including the ones he had obtained previously. Currently, he had broken through the late Ghost Profound realm, and was 1/6 closer to the peak Ghost Profound realm. Currently, there were only 4 void-shedding Dao fruits left in his storage pouch. With my 3 apertures ancient god body, I can only refine these Dao fruits to this extent. If it's someone else, I'm afraid the effect would be even worse. However, if I can refine these 4 void-shedding Dao fruits, it won't be difficult for me to break through to the peak Ghost Profound realm in one go. Ning Fan's eyes were resolute. He raised his hand to grab the first void-shedding Dao fruit, and began to refine it. It took him a year to refine it. After refining the first fruit, Ning Fan began to refine the second one, the third one, the fourth one. At the moment when all the void-shedding Dao fruits were refined, an extremely powerful magical force spread out from Ning Fan's body. It turned into a huge wind dragon and soared to the sky. At this moment, the bottleneck of the peak Ghost Profound realm was broken through. Finally, I've reached the peak Ghost Profound realm. Ning Fan suddenly stood up. His aura soared to the sky. This aura was even stronger than most of the early crossing truth cultivators. Although his cultivation realm was at the peak Ghost Profound realm, the total amount of magical force in his body had almost reached the peak of the early crossing truth realm. At this moment, Ning Fan's combat strength was almost comparable to an intermediate crossing truth cultivator under the dual cultivation of body immortal dual cultivation. And this was without using his trump card. After completely stabilizing his cultivation base, Ning Fan left the profound Yin world in a flash. It had been 8 years since he had entered the profound Yin world. For second-step cultivators, 8 years was too short. It was just a short period of seclusion. However, during these 8 years, Ning Fan's cultivation base had skyrocketed thanks to the countless fortuitous encounters of the Luo clan. His magic power had advanced by 2 levels, reaching the peak of the Spirit Xian realm. The ancient devil's cultivation had advanced 4 levels, reaching the peak of the 8th firmament of Xiqin. In another 2 years, the ancient tomb competition will begin. I haven't obtained the inheritance of ancient chaos, the star-defying devil armor, and the first transformation of the war god art. Ning Fan's face was filled with shame. The Luo clan had treated him so well and helped him improve his cultivation base greatly. If he didn't cultivate the war god art well, how could he be worthy of their generous gifts? Ning Fan took out the battle crystals that were piled up like a mountain, and sat cross-legged in the cave. His mind gradually merged with the battle intent of Broken Halberd Mountain. 3 months later, the number of natal battle fires in his body had increased to 9. It was only now that he had truly mastered the first transformation of the battle art. However, if he wants to master the second transformation, the number of natal battle fires would at least reach 99. Moreover, he had once again reached the limit of natal battle crystals during this cultivation. He needed a battle to achieve a breakthrough. Now that he was already a tomb keeper, he could go to the 4th to 6th floors of the divine tomb at any time if he wanted to fight. He could even enter the last 3 floors to search for the inheritance of ancient chaos. Along the way, he could also go to the Ghost Weapon sect and hand over the fragment of the immemorial star-defying devil armor to the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect, so that he could refine the star-defying devil armor. With this plan, Ning Fan removed the formation and walked out of the cave. As soon as he walked out of the cave, he saw Wang Meng standing outside with a face full of smiles. Wang Meng greets Master. Master has been in seclusion for 8 years. During these 8 years, you must have reached the limit of natal battle crystals again. Do you need me to accompany you in battle to help you break through the bottleneck? When he said this, Wang Meng's face was filled with a respectful smile. However, Ning Fan could still see a hint of complacency from the corner of his eyes. Oh, interesting. That day, you were severely injured by me, but you still have the courage to fight me? Ning Fan looked at Wang Meng meaningfully. Green light flickered in his eyes. With his eyesight that was as good as the union of heaven and man, Wang Meng was almost naked in front of him without any secrets. After 8 years, this Wang Meng had actually stepped into the crossing truth realm in a low-key manner. Moreover, the number of war flames in his body had already reached 99. Not only did his cultivation base increase tremendously, but he had also cultivated to the second transformation of the war god. However, the current Wang Meng was deliberately hiding the number of war flames in his body and suppressing the qi of his cultivation base, afraid that Ning Fan would see through his intentions. Although his face was smiling, his heart was eager to have a battle with Ning Fan. During these 8 years, he had lived an extremely happy life. No one would have thought that after Wang Meng was brutally beaten by Ning Fan, he seemed to have gained a great understanding of the word fight. He even had his own understanding of the word fight. Battle. What is battle? Battle is a fight. In a fight, one must not only know how to hit others but also know how to be beaten. Knowing how to be beaten would reduce injuries. Knowing how to be beaten would save one's life. This was all the insights that Wang Meng had gained after being beaten up by Ning Fan's one-on-one. What a painful insight. However, this insight opened up a new path and gave him a new interpretation of the word battle. Battle. Not only must one know how to attack, one must also know how to defend. With this insight, Wang Meng actually broke through the bottleneck of the second transformation of the war god and successfully cultivated it. Borrowing this momentum, he once again stepped onto the true bridge. For the 4th time in his life, he stepped onto the true bridge and crossed it. The word crossing referred to stepping on the true bridge and crossing the long river of the Great Tao. Any cultivator would only have 9 chances to fail on the true bridge in their life, hence the name, 9 crossing true bridges. If a peak ghost profound cultivator failed to break through the true bridge 9 times in a row, he would never have another chance to break through the true bridge in his life. Every time a true immortal of the true bridge broke through a small realm, he would have to cross the true bridge again. If an early true crossing realm cultivator failed 8 times on the true bridge before breaking through to the true crossing realm, he would only have 1 chance to fail. If he succeeded, he would break through to the intermediate true crossing realm. If he failed, he would be stuck at his current realm forever. This was the cruelty of the true crossing realm. Everyone only had 9 chances to fail, and they must break through to the shedding void realm before failing all 9 times. Unfortunately, the difficulty of crossing the true bridge was extremely high. Only 1 out of 100 people would succeed. Therefore, there were only a few true immortals who succeeded in crossing the true crossing realm. There were many cultivators who were stuck at the true crossing realm for their entire life. Let's not talk about Wang Meng anymore. Wang Meng's innate talent was only average. He had been relying on the 8 extremities combat physique to cultivate until now. The first time he suffered a setback was in front of Ning Fan. He lost all his face and was beaten mercilessly. It was this beating that enlightened Wang Meng. He who failed to cross the true crossing realm 4 times did not fail on his 5th attempt. Instead, he succeeded and stepped into the true crossing realm. Breaking through to the second transformation of his battle art, and breaking through to the true crossing realm was a blessing in disguise. Naturally, he was extremely happy. These 8 years were the best 8 years of his life. The only thing that made him slightly unhappy was the restrictive spell in his sea of consciousness. It wasn't easy for him to become a true immortal old monster and cultivate the second transformation of his battle art. He was supposed to be famous in a region, But he couldn't get rid of his identity as Ning Fan's servant. Ever since he succeeded in crossing the true crossing realm, Wang Meng had been keeping a low profile. He kept the matter of his breakthrough a secret. Every day he would wait outside of Ning Fan's cave, waiting for Ning Fan to come out of seclusion, hoping to have a battle with him. With my current early true crossing realm cultivation base, and the second transformation of the war god, my strength can be considered as above average in the entire early true crossing realm. As long as Ning Fan doesn't use that punch that day, he might not be able to defeat me. During these 8 years, I have thought about it repeatedly. The punch that day might just be a coincidence. I'm afraid that I won't be able to use it a second time. If that's the case, I might not lose to him in a battle. If we fight again, I will naturally make an agreement with him. If I win, he must remove the restrictive spell in my sea of consciousness and return my freedom. He doesn't know that I have already broken through to the second transformation of the true crossing realm. Due to his arrogance, there's a high chance that he will agree to my condition. If I win him, I can remove the restrictive spell in one go. From then on, I will be like a fish in the sea, and walk proudly in the eastern heaven. If I lose to him, perhaps, I will be able to receive another beating and comprehend something. Perhaps, my strength will improve tremendously. Wang Meng's mind was racing, but his face was still full of smiles. Ning Fan was a wise man. Although he didn't know the specific thoughts of Wang Meng, he could vaguely guess that Wang Meng was disloyal because his cultivation base had improved tremendously. If Master needs someone to accompany you in the battle, I am willing to recommend myself. However, I want to make a bet with Master. If I win, Master must remove the restrictive spell on me. Of course, my cultivation base is low. How could I be a match for Master? I will most likely lose this bet. Wang Meng's every word was spoken in a respectful tone. Occasionally, his eyes would purposely reveal a hint of admiration. Those who didn't know would think that he was very respectful towards his master. A bet? I don't have any opinion on it. But if you lose, what else can you give me? Ning Fan smiled faintly and looked at Wang Meng. No matter how one looked at it, that smile was somewhat horrifying. What if I lose? Wang Meng was startled. He had never thought of this question before. If you lose, I want one of your hands. Do you dare to fight? Ning Fan's expression suddenly became stern. Although Wang Meng was picked up from the streets, but since he had a disloyal heart, he must be punished. Chapter 819. One hand. Looking at Ning Fan's creepy smile, Wang Meng suddenly felt a chill from his feet to the top of his head. Logically speaking, losing a hand was just a small matter for someone with his cultivation base. It wasn't difficult to regrow it, so this bet wasn't too big. But at this moment, Wang Meng suddenly had an intuition that if he accepted this bet and fought with Ning Fan, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Perhaps, Ning Fan had a way to make him lose one of his hands forever. If the injury was caused by the Dao Law, he wouldn't be able to regrow his arm with his current cultivation base. That day, this malefic star destroyed the entire Violet Silk City with a single punch. The reason why it was so difficult to stop the collapse was because of the Dao Law that was triggered by his divine ability. He probably won't be able to use that punch again. That time should be a coincidence. But what if he can use that punch again? Wang Meng swallowed his saliva. His initial determination to fight Ning Fan was shaken at this moment. For a moment he didn't dare to accept the challenge. How about it? Do you dare to accept this bet? Ning Fan's eyes squinted slightly. Indistinctly, there was a heavy aura as heavy as a mountain. Wang Meng's heart shuddered for no reason. After 8 years, Ning Fan gave him a feeling of invincibility. He had only felt this kind of feeling from some intermediate Duzhen old monsters before. A feeling of trepidation suddenly rose in his heart, causing him to recall the Violet Silk City that was destroyed by Ning Fan's punch 8 years ago. All of his determination crumbled at this moment. All of his beliefs collapsed at this moment. When he regained his senses, Wang Meng realized that his back was soaked with cold sweat. He calmed himself down, took a deep breath and made up his mind. I've thought about it carefully. I think it's better to give up on this bet. Wang Meng lowered his head and said with a smile. Oh, you don't want to bet? Then do you still want to fight me? I think it's better not to fight. I observed the stars last night, and found that 3 of them were dark and 1 was bright. I'm afraid it's not suitable for a fight today. Cough, cough, cough. If Master doesn't have any other instructions, I'll return to the cave first. Wang Meng laughed dryly and turned around to leave. Ning Fan, on the other hand, let out a cold harumph. A wave of devil might that was a combination of magic power, essence chi and baleful chi immediately pressed down on the place where Wang Meng was standing. Immediately, Wang Meng felt as if the entire sky was pressing down on him. He lifted his foot slightly, but it was extremely difficult for him to take a step forward. It's been 8 years. How did his pressure increase so much? Wang Meng abruptly turned his head and looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. A black and white light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. In an instant, Wang Meng's vision darkened. His body seemed to have lost its soul, and he could no longer move. In the world of his mind, the entire world had turned into a dark night. In this boundless dark sky, 7 snow-white stars gradually appeared, like the Big Dipper formation. The 7 stars suddenly merged, and under the starlight, a young man in white slowly appeared. He stood quietly in the boundless night, his eyes as cold as ice that would never melt. This was what Wang Meng saw at that moment. Dao image. You actually used the power of the elephant to invade my mind world. What do you want to do? Wang Meng's expression changed drastically. All of a sudden, he saw Ning Fan raising his hand and pointing his finger at the boundless night sky. The image of an 8-armed demon god immediately appeared between heaven and earth. Wang Meng's expression turned into one of fear the moment he saw the figure. The image of the 8-armed demon god was taken from the 8 extremities combat physique. It was none other than his Dao image. Ning Fan raised one of his hands and made a grabbing motion. Immediately, one of the arms of the 8-armed Dao elephant that had yet to fully materialize began to crack. A Duzhen cultivator must have his own Dao. He must also have his own Dao image. If one's physical body was destroyed, it was easy to repair. Even if one was injured by Dao laws, it was not impossible to heal. However, once the Dao image was damaged, it would be extremely difficult to repair. Once it was completely destroyed, it could no longer be cultivated. Moreover, if the Dao image of a cultivator in the Duzhen realm was destroyed, he would directly fall from the Duzhen realm, and he would never be able to step into the Duzhen realm again in this lifetime. I understand. You said you wanted one of my hands. You actually want the hand of a Taoist elephant. You want to destroy my Dao image. You want to make me fall into the Duzhen realm forever. Wang Meng's face was filled with panic. He wanted to break free from this mental world, but he could not do it no matter how hard he tried. He wanted to retract the 8-armed demon god and the Dao image, but he realized that he could not do it at all. His body felt like it was being suppressed by thousands of great Daos. He could not move at all in this mental world. He could only watch as the cracks on one of the 8-armed Dao elephant's arms increased, and it was getting closer to destruction. Master, stop it now. Don't destroy my Dao image. I deserve to die. I shouldn't have played such petty tricks. I know I'm wrong. Wang Meng's body was trembling, and he immediately begged. At this moment, Wang Meng already understood everything. Ning Fan had seen through his Duzhen realm at first glance, and he had also seen through all of his petty tricks. That was why Ning Fan wanted to punish him. And the method of punishment was to destroy one of his Dao image's arms. If this arm was destroyed, with Wang Meng's unstable Duzhen realm, it was extremely likely that he would directly fall from the Duzhen realm. Wang Meng, your decision today is very wise. If you dare to betray me, you won't be able to keep this arm. You won't be able to keep your life either. Ning Fan said coldly. However, he stopped in time to prevent Wang Meng's Dao elephant arm from being destroyed. As soon as he kept his Dao image, both of them left Wang Meng's mental world at the same time, and returned to the outside world. In the outside world, Wang Meng's face was already as pale as a piece of paper. As soon as he returned to the outside world, he immediately fell to the ground and coughed out a mouthful of black blood. Even though his Dao image was not destroyed, it was damaged by Ning Fan. There were countless cracks on it. It would be extremely difficult to repair it. However, his eyes did not dare to show any resentment. He took a deep breath and struggled to stand up. His expression when he looked at Ning Fan was filled with respect. Thank you for showing mercy, master. Wang Ming addressed Ning Fan as master, with extreme respect. Half of it was because of fear and the other half was because he was convinced. Ning Fan's method of invading his mental world and destroying his Tao image had terrified him. Among the cultivators at the Duzhen realm and above, only those who were a few times stronger than their opponents could easily borrow the power of their Tao image to invade the minds of others. Only those cultivators who had incomparably powerful Tao images could destroy the Tao images of others. Without a doubt, Ning Fan's strength had improved tremendously during these 8 years. Wang Ming could not be compared to him at all. That was why he could invade Wang Ming's mental world. Without a doubt, Ning Fan's Tao image must be incomparably powerful. Otherwise, even if Wang Ming's Tao image was not stable, he wouldn't be defenseless and could only watch his Tao image being destroyed bit by bit. This man's current strength is definitely a few times stronger than mine. It's as easy as flipping his hand if he wants to kill me. If he wants to destroy my Tao image, he can also do it with a flick of his finger. Previously, I thought that I would have the strength to fight against him after breaking through to the next realm. My cultivation base has improved, but his cultivation base has also improved. That was what Wang Ming was thinking at the moment. At this moment, he felt regretful and fortunate at the same time. He regretted his disloyalty and felt fortunate that he gave up on the bet at the last moment. Otherwise, he dared not imagine what kind of consequences he would face. It would be considered a light punishment if his Tao image was destroyed. With Ning Fan's ruthless character, he would probably activate the restrictive spell to take his life. I won't allow what happened today to happen a third time. Do you understand? Ning Fan said coldly. I understand. I understand. Wang Ming immediately broke out in cold sweat and nodded repeatedly. That's right. He had already provoked Ning Fan twice. If there's a third time, he did not dare to imagine the consequences. I'm going to leave the Heavenly Sea Star for a few days. There's something I need you to do for me. I hope you won't disappoint me again. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan passed a jade slip to Wang Ming. Wang Ming scanned through the contents of the jade slip with his spirit sense, and immediately cupped his fists. Don't worry, master. I will certainly gather enough information about this matter before you return. Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. With a leap, he flew away from the Heavenly Sea Star. Even if Wang Ming did not come looking for trouble today, he would also take the initiative to find him and ask him to investigate this matter. Now that he has given Wang Ming a warning, he would certainly try his best to complete the task. What Ning Fan wanted to investigate was all the information about Lightning Emperor Tai Su and the true Lightning World. Lightning Emperor Tai Su had fallen 50 million years ago. There was very little information about him in the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. When he became famous, he seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. No one knew where he came from. Ning Fan was the only one who knew that Lightning Emperor Tai Su's hometown was in the true Lightning World. However, he was not sure where the true Lightning World was. Lightning Emperor Tai Su had once sacrificed his Tao destruction to save Ning Fan, and asked him to save the true Lightning World. Ning Fan had never forgotten about this matter. Lightning Emperor Tai Su had also given Ning Fan a star map. However, that star map was not an astrolabe, and it could not directly guide him to the right direction. The star region on the star map looked very unfamiliar. Ning Fan did not know where exactly the true Lightning World was located in the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. That was why he thought of asking Wang Ming, his cheap servant, to investigate it. He would eventually go to the true Thunder World. He would definitely do what he had promised. Hiss. Why does Master want to investigate the information of Lightning Emperor Tai Su? Could it be that he also wants the Lightning Emperor's relic? Only after Ning Fan left did Wang Ming let out a cold breath. Thunder Emperor Tai Su had fallen for countless years, but there were not many cultivators in Eastern Sky who remembered this heavenly emperor. However, in Wang Ming's hometown, there would occasionally be cultivators talking about Lightning Emperor Tai Su's past. His hometown was a place called the 3000 Thunder Realm. Lightning Emperor Tai Su had lived in seclusion in the 3000 Thunder Realm for countless years. However, more than 100 years ago, many old monsters suddenly appeared in the 3000 Thunder realm. Not only were there cultivators from the eastern heaven, but there were also cultivators from the other 3 heavens. Sometimes there were even cultivators from the secret races. These old monsters would ask for information about Lightning Emperor Tai Su whenever they meet someone. They even dug 3 feet deep into the 3000 Thunder realm in search of something. It was said that they were looking for the relic of the Lightning Emperor in the 3000 Thunder realm. What was the relic of the Lightning Emperor? With Wang Meng's cultivation base, he was not qualified to know. However, when Ning Fan asked him to investigate the information of Lightning Emperor Tai Su, he inwardly guessed that Ning Fan was also going for the legendary relic of the Lightning Emperor. Sigh. What does it have to do with me whether this person is looking for the relic of the Lightning Emperor or not? I just need to do my part and help him investigate this information. Wang Meng let out a sigh and kept the jade slip. When he thought of Ning Fan's strength, he still felt a lingering fear in his heart. I better behave myself in the future and don't provoke this person. The Een Moon star was a high-grade cultivation star in the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. This star was quite famous in the entire Eastern Heaven Immortal World. On this star, there was a weapon refinement sect called the Ghost Weapon Sect. The old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect lived up to his name. The magic treasures and divine weapons he refined were all earth-shattering items. The old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect had a total of 14 disciples in his life. All of them were the grandmasters of weapon refinement in the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. People called them the 14 military masters. Each of them occupied a large spiritual vein on the Een Moon star, which was used for cultivation and weapon refinement. Each of the 14 military masters also had their own disciples, and their weapon refinement techniques were not weak. Every day, many cultivators of the Eastern Heaven would come to the Een Moon star to purchase magic treasures. There were also many old monsters who came from afar to ask the 14 military masters to refine their magic treasures and divine weapons. There were very few people who could ask the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect to personally refine their magic treasures. Even Shikong and Xiao Nian Old Monster were often rejected at the door of the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect. Ning Fan held the star compass in his hand and flew all the way to the Een Moon star. When he arrived, he kept the rainbow light and immediately descended towards a devil sea on the star. This devil sea was called the Lunar Calamity Sea. It was the place with the best spiritual chi on the Een Moon star. At the center of the Lunar Calamity Sea was a Devil Mountain, which was where the Ghost Weapon Sect was located. The Lunar Calamity Sea was covered with gloomy mist all year round. Cultivators below the True Crossing realm would not dare to fly over the Devil Sea at all. They must have the special magic treasures of the Ghost Weapon Sect to protect themselves. Otherwise, once they come into contact with the mist, they would immediately die from the penetration of the Een Chi. Above this Devil Sea, there were 4 rogue immortals carrying a gigantic iron palanquin. At the same time, they were cautiously activating their magic treasures to protect themselves while advancing towards the Ghost Weapon Sect. Inside the iron palanquin sat an elderly man in yellow robes who was emitting gloomy chi. His cultivation base was at the mid-human profound realm. The baleful chi on his body was extremely dense. His cultivation base was just a step away from breaking through to the late human profound realm. He sat cross-legged in the iron palanquin and circulated his cultivation base, silently absorbing the Een Chi in this place for cultivation. Gradually, the traces of Een Chi turned into lumps of bright yellow poisonous miasma which hovered around his body. The poisonous miasma gave off a faint fragrance of pear blossoms which carried a great destructive power. Not many people at the mid-human profound realm could withstand the poisonous miasma attack of the elderly man. The plague technique given by Master is indeed very mysterious. If I can master this technique, I will be able to break through to the late human profound realm in no time. He was very close to absorbing the Een Chi and breaking through the bottleneck. A sinister smile gradually appeared on the elderly man's face. Once I break through to the late human profound realm, I will seek revenge on that Shuekongzi. In the past, he killed his way to the Seven Fiend sect and severely injured me. I still remember this hatred in my heart. The elderly man had reached the critical moment of absorbing the yin qi. Suddenly, a fearless rainbow swept across the lunar calamity sea, dispersing all the dense mist and yin qi in this place. The speed of that light was only equivalent to the void fragmentation realm. The elderly man was at the critical moment of his cultivation. When the yin qi dispersed all of a sudden, he immediately suffered a backlash from his cultivation method. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and said angrily, "How dare a mere void fragmentation realm kid run amok in this place and disturb my cultivation? You're courting death." The moment the elderly man roared, the eyes of the 4 rogue immortals who were carrying the palanquin were filled with killing intent. They took out their magic treasures at the same time, and ruthlessly slashed at the void fragmentation realm light while sneering. "Since you've disturbed the cultivation of the old ancestor of the 7 Fiends sect, you'll have to pay with your life." The sharp light from the 4 rogue immortals' magic treasures tore apart the yin qi and slashed at the owner of the void fragmentation realm light. The owner of the light was a white-robed young man. His eyes turned fierce. He opened his mouth and swallowed all the 4 rogue immortals' magic treasures into his stomach. Then he said coldly, "7 Fiend sect. I didn't expect to meet an old friend here." As he said the word old friend, the white-robed young man's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was just deliberately slowing down and taking the opportunity to spread out his spirit sense to check the number of experts in the lunar calamity sea. He didn't expect to meet his former enemy unexpectedly and be attacked by him. What an ill-fated relationship. Hiss. This man swallowed our magic treasures. He's actually a second step senior. The 4 rogue immortals of the 7 Fiends sect immediately revealed a look of fear. A yellow-robed old man immediately flew out from the iron palanquin. His expression was extremely solemn. He spread out his spirit sense, trying to find out the true cultivation base of the white-robed young man. However, he couldn't see through his true cultivation base. "There's no need to check. My cultivation base isn't something that you can see through. I only have one question. Are you really the sect master of the 7 Fiends sect?" The white-robed young man asked coldly. "That's right. I'm the sect master of the 7 Fiends sect. What do you want, fellow Taoist?" The yellow-robed old man's eyes turned cold. He could already see a trace of killing intent in the white-robed young man's eyes. "If that's the case, you can die now." The killing intent in Ning Fan's eyes reached its peak at this moment. He waved his hand and directly grabbed the yellow-robed old ancestor. The force of his grab immediately turned into a gigantic devil claw that tore at the yellow-robed old man. That year, the 7 Fiends sect put a bounty of 30 million on his head. Later on, another bounty of 10 billion was placed on his head. He was hunted by countless people. He had never forgotten about that. All of a sudden, the yellow-robed old man's face turned pale with fright. The force of that grab was enough to easily tear apart any life immortal realm cultivator. It wasn't something that a mere human profound realm cultivator like him could resist. "Who are you? Why do you have to?" "Ah." Before he could finish his words, it had already turned into a miserable shriek. Chapter 820. Who else could this white-robed young man be other than Ning Fan? With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he only needed to casually grab, and it immediately turned into a gigantic devil claw, almost tearing the great momentum of heaven and earth apart. Before the yellow-robed old man could finish his words, he was already torn into countless pieces by Ning Fan's claw. His physical body exploded into a rain of blood, sprinkling in the sky above the Devil Sea. Only one primordial spirit survived, but it was also on the verge of death. It was forcefully pulled into Ning Fan's hand. It looked at Ning Fan with extreme fear and stuttered. "You? Who are you? Why do you want to kill me?" With the yellow-robed old man's eyesight, he could naturally see that Ning Fan's killing intent wasn't because of his 4 rogue immortal subordinates. That killing intent was for revenge. That killing intent had been accumulated for many years. However, the yellow-robed old man couldn't remember when he had offended such a powerful old monster. A single strike was enough to destroy everything he had. Such strength had definitely reached the Duzhen realm. This person is definitely an old monster Duzhen. Duzhen. I've never offended any old monster Duzhen in my life. None of the people I've killed in my life were as senior as Du Zhen. Why does this person want to kill me? The yellow-robed old man couldn't understand where Ning Fan's killing intent came from. Ning Fan sneered while looking at the terrified primordial spirit in his hand. He patted his storage pouch and took out an old and tattered wanted order and showed it to the old man. When the old man's eyes swept across the wanted order, his memory was immediately awakened. His eyes were wide open because he was too shocked. He looked at Ning Fan and his body trembled. It's you. It's actually you. No wonder you have such hatred towards me. It's you. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. You were just a void fragmentation realm cultivator in the past. Even if you join the Slaughter Palace later on, it's impossible for you to reach the Du Zhen realm in just 100 years. It's fake. This is all fake. I don't believe it. A strong sense of regret flashed in the yellow-robed old man's eyes. Although he said that he didn't believe it, his heart was 100% convinced that the white-robed young man in front of him was Ning Fan. He had once set a bounty of 30 million Dao crystals on Ning Fan, and personally led a group of people to hunt him down. Later on, he was severely injured by Shuekongzi. Only then did he stop the hunt. He had once received an order from an expert of the Pill Ancestor realm to place a bounty on Ning Fan's head once again. This time, it was 10 billion. However, what disappointed him was that even the reward of 10 billion yuan could not kill Ning Fan. What shocked him even more was that Ning Fan had slaughtered 100 immortals in the Yaosek star region. In the end, he even defeated countless Eastern Heavens geniuses and joined the Slaughter Palace. Today he, the dignified sect master of the Seven Evil Sect, was finally going to die in the hands of that void fragmentation realm kid in the past, completely defenseless. If he knew that such a day would come, he would not have chosen to be Ning Fan's enemy. His eyes were filled with regret, but after that regret, he gradually became crazy. You can't kill me. The current me. Without giving the yellow-robed elderly man any more chances to speak, Ning Fan clenched his fist fiercely, directly crushing the primordial spirit in his hand into a mist of blood. His icy gaze swept across the remaining 4-7 Fiend Sect loose immortals. Not good. The 4-7 Fiend Sect loose immortals were immediately scared out of their wits. They tossed the iron palanquin aside and fled without hesitation. Ning Fan was an old monster who could kill a profound life immortal realm expert with a single strike. How could they be his match? Moreover, they also saw the wanted poster and recalled the events of the past. That year, they had also chased after Ning Fan to kill him. There was certainly no reason for Ning Fan to let them go. Ning Fan gently closed his eyes and did not look at the 4 fleeing loose immortals. When the 4 loose immortals saw this, they thought that Ning Fan had the intention to let them go. All of them were overjoyed. However, at the next moment, 4 cracks suddenly appeared in heaven and earth. 4 illusory sword lights flew out from the cracks. The 4 swords slashed down and immediately killed the 4 loose immortals. Ning Fan did not even bother to keep the storage pouches of the 4 loose immortals. He only held the storage pouch of the sect master of the 7 Fiend Sect in his hand. After scanning it with his spirit sense, he did not find anything that he was interested in. He only kept the Dao crystal and burned everything else with his devil flames. There was not a hint of joy on his face. To him, killing people was not a joyful thing. However, his way of doing things had always been to distinguish between gratitude and grudges. Since there was a blood feud between them, it was impossible for him to be magnanimous and let them go. The sect master of the 7 Fiend Sect is already dead. However, the shadow of the Pill Sect was once behind the 7 Fiend Sect. In the past, even though the bounty of 10 billion was issued in the name of the 7 Fiend Sect, the Pill Sect was the one who did it secretly. This time, it was the sect master of the 7 Fiend Sect. Next time, it will be the sect master of the Pill Sect. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light. Then he took a step forward and flew towards the direction of the Ghost Weapon Sect. According to his investigation, there was only one Shikong in the Ghost Weapon Sect. He was the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon Sect. There were 7 to 8 Du Zhen cultivators and 10 Guoxian cultivators. Other than them, there were no other cultivators of the second step. Not all of them were cultivators of the Ghost Weapon Sect. Some of them were here to ask for magic treasures to be refined. Ning Fan flew across the lunar calamity sea. With a leap, he landed on the peak of the Devil Mountain in the sea. At this moment, there were 7 second-step cultivators waiting outside the mountain gate of the Ghost Weapon sect. Among the 7 of them, there were 2 Dujin cultivators and 5 Life Immortal Realm cultivators. All of them were cultivators who came here to ask for treasures. With their cultivation bases, it was naturally impossible for them to ask the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect to personally refine a magic treasure for them. What they were asking for was just the disciple of the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect, the 14th Weapon Master. When Ning Fan arrived, the 2 Dujin cultivators immediately scanned him with their spirit sense. When they realized that Ning Fan's cultivation base was at the peak Ghost Profound Realm, they shook their heads slightly. The mist in the lunar calamity sea had the effect of isolating spirit sense. Even with the strength of their spirit sense, they were still unable to cover the entire lunar calamity sea with their spirit sense. However, they could still vaguely sense the fluctuations of the battle that came from the direction of the lunar calamity sea just now. When they saw the baleful qi on Ning Fan's body, they guessed that Ning Fan was the one who caused the fluctuations. There's no need to ask. The person who committed the murder in the lunar calamity sea just now is most likely this young man. Doesn't this young man know that the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect had once strictly forbade any outsider from killing people in the lunar calamity sea? If he violates this rule, the Ghost Weapon sect will never refine magic treasures for him no matter what. As for the other 5 Life Immortal Realm cultivators, they did not have spirit sense as strong as the 2 Dujin cultivators. Thus, they did not sense the fluctuations of the battle in the lunar calamity sea just now. Among the 5 Life Immortal Realm cultivators, 4 of them were at the Mortal Profound Realm, while only 1 of them was an early Ghost Profound Realm cultivator. As soon as the 5 Life Immortal Realm cultivators sensed the lingering baleful qi on Ning Fan's body, their expressions immediately changed. If they did not sense wrongly, Ning Fan should have just killed a Mortal Profound Realm cultivator. That was why he would leave behind such a fierce baleful qi. These 7 second-step cultivators did not know each other. All of them came here to ask the 14th Weapon Master to refine a magic treasure for them. Ning Fan was the 8th second-step cultivator to arrive. As soon as they saw Ning Fan, who obviously carried the baleful qi of someone who had just killed someone, a few disciples of the Ghost Weapon sect outside the mountain gate immediately walked towards him. Their expressions were unfriendly as they questioned Ning Fan. "Senior, did you kill someone in the lunar calamity sea?" Although they addressed him as senior, they did not show any respect at all. These disciples of the Ghost Weapon sect were only at the Void Fragmentation realm. However, they dared to question a second-step cultivator like Ning Fan in a stern tone. Obviously, they were relying on the power of the Ghost Weapon sect. Ning Fan frowned slightly but still answered them. "I did." Could it be that killing is forbidden in the lunar calamity sea? That's right. The old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect has ordered that any cultivator who dares to kill someone in the lunar calamity sea will be regarded as disrespecting the Ghost Weapon sect. Our Ghost Weapon sect will never agree to any request of refining a magic treasure. Senior, please leave. Since you've killed someone, you don't have the right to ask our Ghost Weapon sect to refine a magic treasure for you. When they said those words, the few Void Fragmentation Realm disciples had a hint of arrogance on their faces. It was as if the person standing in front of them was not an old monster of the second step, but a junior with a low cultivation base. Ning Fan's frown deepened. Then he raised his hand slightly and took out a token. It was a bronze token. The image of a coffin was engraved on the front of the token. The word Luo was engraved on the northern side of the token. If one imparts a magic seal onto the token, they could also check the name of the owner and the amount of time he spent guarding the tomb. This person is actually the tomb guardian of the Battle King Luo clan. The 7 Life Immortal Realm cultivators, including the 2 Dujin cultivators, wore a surprised expression. When they looked at Ning Fan again, their eyes were filled with the intention to befriend him. As soon as the few Void Fragmentation Realm disciples saw the token, they were also shocked. The arrogance on their faces disappeared, and they immediately cupped their fists at Ning Fan. "Senior, please forgive us. We didn't know that Senior is the tomb guardian of the Luo clan. Please forgive us for our impoliteness. The reason why they dared to question Ningfan with their void fragmentation realm cultivation base was because of the power of the Ghost Weapon sect. However, compared to the Battle King Luo clan, the Ghost Weapon sect seemed slightly insignificant. In particular, the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect had given an order that if they see the tomb guardian of the Luo clan, they must treat him as a distinguished guest. With this order, they would not dare to neglect Ningfan. I'm here to ask the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect to help me refine a magic treasure. I wonder if you can lead me to your sect's old ancestor? Ningfan kept the tomb guardian token and asked indifferently. With his cultivation base, he naturally would not stoop to the level of a few juniors. Senior, you've come at a bad time. 8 years ago, the old ancestor has been waiting for Senior's arrival. However, Senior didn't come for a long time. Hence, the old ancestor went into seclusion temporarily to refine another magic treasure. He hasn't come out of seclusion yet. No one knows when the old ancestor will come out. The few Void Fragmentation Realm disciples answered respectfully. Is that so? It's my fault. I came late. If that's the case, I'll come and refine the devil armor next time. Ningfan shook his head and turned to leave. Since I can't refine the devil armor for the time being, I'll go to the Divine Tomb to have a look first. Now that I'm already a Tomb Guardian, I have the right to enter the lowest level of the Divine Tomb. The few Void Fragmentation Realm disciples naturally did not dare to stop Ningfan from leaving. As for the other 7-second step cultivators, they originally wanted to get close to Ningfan. However, when they saw that he was in a hurry and seemed to be in a hurry to leave, they naturally did not forcefully stop him for a chat. Just as Ningfan turned around and was about to leave, a cold voice resounded from within the Ghost Weapon sect. At the next moment, 14 rays of light soared into the sky and landed on the ground. They turned into 14 human figures and blocked Ningfan's path. Wait! You can't leave yet. Among the 14 people, one of them immediately took a step forward and said to Ningfan in a cold and harsh tone. It was a burly man in green robes. His cultivation base was at the peak Ghost Profound Realm. His body was fully covered in spirit armor. We, the disciples who guard the mountain, greet the 14 military masters. As soon as the few disciples who were guarding the mountain saw the 14 military masters approaching, they immediately greeted them. The expressions of the other 7-second step cultivators who came here to seek treasures also changed when they saw the 14 military masters standing in front of Ningfan. With their eyesight, they could naturally tell that the 14 military masters did not come with good intentions. The way they looked at Ningfan was filled with hostility. The 14 military masters of the Ghost Weapon sect, huh? Ningfan frowned and his gaze swept across the 14 cultivators in front of him. Among the 14 people, there were 3 late Ghost Profound Realm cultivators, 7 peak Ghost Profound Realm cultivators and 4 early Crossing True Realm cultivators. The burly man in green robes who came earlier was the 8th-ranked military master in the Ghost Weapon sect. The way he looked at Ningfan was filled with hostility. The other military masters also quietly spread out, blocking all of Ningfan's escape routes. Everyone with such a lineup, do you want to spar with me? Ningfan asked in a deep voice. After all, he came to the Ghost Weapon sect to ask for a magic treasure. According to Luo Shi, the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect had a friendly relationship with the Luo clan. Considering this friendship, as long as the Ghost Weapon sect did not go overboard in their actions, Ningfan would not be too calculative with them. Humph! I don't have time to spar with you. Tell me, the sect master of the 7 evil spirits sect was killed by you. If this is really your doing, even if you are a member of the Battle King Luo clan, I will not let you leave the Ghost Weapon sect today. So what if I am? Ningfan said coldly. Good. Sure enough, you are the one who killed them. Since that's the case, you will stay here today. The burly man in green robes snorted coldly. He raised his hand and a silver rope appeared in his hand, trying to tie Ningfan up. As soon as the rope soared into the sky, it immediately turned into a ray of silver lightning and flung at Ningfan. Chapter 821. As soon as the rope soared into the sky, it immediately turned into a ray of silver lightning and flung at Ning Fan. When it was only 3 zhang away from Ning Fan, the lightning rope trembled and shattered into tens of thousands of silver lightning rays. Like a rainstorm, they struck down from the sky with a sizzling sound. The gloomy demon mountain was immediately illuminated by the lightning that descended from the sky. An ancient dragon's roar suddenly rang out in the world. It's the lightning scattering whip. Junior brother Qing Mu has already successfully forged this treasure. Among the weapon grandmasters, a few people immediately exclaimed, "This lightning whip has the soul of a primeval lightning dragon as its artifact spirit, and its quality has already attained the rank of a postnatal heavenly immortal artifact. Only Du Zhen can resist it. Looks like junior brother Qing Mu alone is enough to take down this person." A few more confident voices came from the group of weapon grandmasters. Ning Fan's eyes glinted with a cold light. How could he not see that the 14th military master attacked him because he had killed the sect master of the Seven Fiends sect? The Ghost Weapon sect was not as powerful as the Battle King Luo clan, but they dared to brazenly attack the Tomb Keeper of the Luo clan for a mere Seven Fiends sect master. This matter was really strange. With Ning Fan's years of cultivation and wisdom, he already understood that this Seven Fiend sect master had a great significance to the Ghost Weapon sect. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to incite the wrath of the 14 military masters. He had killed the Seven Fiend sect master, which meant that he had completely become enemies with the Ghost Weapon sect. This was an accident. However, even if he knew that killing the Seven Fiends sect master would offend the Ghost Weapon sect, he would not have any hesitation. He must kill the Seven Fiends sect master. As for the 14 weapon masters of the Ghost Weapon sect, it was absolutely impossible for them to capture Ning Fan and punish him. Ning Fan coldly stared at the sky that was filled with lightning bolts. The blood star on his glabella flashed, and his eyes immediately emitted an indescribably terrifying lightning might. His cold gaze swept across the sky that was filled with lightning bolts. It actually made the lightning bolts that were striking down from the sky suddenly stop and hesitate. None of them actually dared to strike Ning Fan's body. They seemed to be afraid of Ning Fan. No, it was not that they were afraid of him. Instead, they were afraid of the blood-red star on his glabella. It was as if that tiny blood star was something extremely terrifying to the lightning that filled the sky. The thunder-scattering whip actually failed. The burly man in a green robe was shocked. He suddenly bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood mist in the direction of the lightning in the sky. "Evil creature, what are you waiting for?" In the face of this rebuke, the lightning in the sky was no longer fearful, and it condensed into a lightning dragon that was over 1,000 feet long. The lightning dragon's eyes were filled with ferocity. It opened its mouth and swallowed Ning Fan. It actually wanted to swallow him whole and kill him. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He stomped on the ground and a blood-red lightning formation diagram immediately spread out from his feet. The moment the lightning diagram appeared, the originally vicious Lei Long immediately revealed an expression of terror. Without saying a word, it turned around and fled. Unfortunately, just as it turned around, a blood-colored lightning hand suddenly flew out of the lightning diagram and slammed down on its body. The instant the giant hand slammed into the lightning dragon, all of its lightning energy vanished, as if it had been stripped away by the giant hand. Cracks of lightning spread across the lightning dragon's body. In the next moment, the lightning dragon let out a miserable shriek and exploded into countless lightning sparks. The lightning rays condensed and turned into a silver lightning whip again. It fell from the sky and was kept by Ning Fan with a raise of his hand. Without saying a word, he wiped the whip with his palm and erased all the spirit sense imprints within it. All of a sudden, the burly man's face turned pale. He immediately coughed out blood and took a few steps back. He looked at Ning Fan with extreme shock and anger. He was shocked because Ning Fan was only at the peak Ghost Profound realm, but he could actually destroy his most powerful natal magical treasure, the thunder-scattering whip, with just a lift of his hand. The strength that Ning Fan displayed was definitely not at the Ghost Profound realm. It was probably comparable to old monster Du Zhen. He was angry because Ning Fan actually dared to erase the natal imprints on his magical treasure, and directly took away the thunder-scattering whip. Considering the friendship between the Luo clan and the Ghost Weapon sect, I won't hold it against you since it's your first time attacking. If you continue to pester me, you'll have to bear the consequences. Ning Fan dispersed the lightning diagram and kept the thunder-scattering whip into his storage pouch. With a leap he was about to leave. How dare you kill the sect master of the Seven Fiends sect? How can I let you leave the Ghost Weapon sect? Stay here for me. An ugly middle-aged woman immediately walked out from behind the burly man in green robes. Her cultivation base was at the early True Crossing realm. Her appearance was ugly. There were even a few hideous scars on her face. They were caused by the backlash of her magical treasures when she failed to refine her magical treasures several times. Even though she was ugly, her body carried a strong sword chi that could not be ignored. At the moment she took a step forward, 4 rays of extremely dazzling purple sword light rushed out from the top of her head and soared into the sky. The 4 rays of sword light surrounded Ning Fan in 4 directions of heaven and earth. The rays of light connected and formed a rhombus-shaped sword formation diagram that was filled with killing intent. 4 directions sword formation appear. The ugly middle-aged woman shouted coldly. Immediately, 4 illusory figures of Qilin flew out from the 4 rays of purple sword light and went into the formation. At the next moment, the illusory figure of a giant suddenly appeared at the center of the sword formation. It had 4 arms and each of its arms was holding an ancient sword with the image of a Qilin carved on it. Your abilities aren't weak, but you aren't the real True Crossing realm after all. You aren't my match. For Direction's sword, suppress him for me. The ugly middle-aged woman changed her hand seal, and the 4-armed giant immediately swung its 4 swords at Ning Fan's head. At this moment, all the light in heaven and earth dimmed. Only the purple sword light that blotted out the sky was left, illuminating heaven and earth. Ning Fan's expression was as cold as ice. There was no other expression on his face. Without saying a word, he lifted his foot and stomped on the sword formation diagram beneath his feet. An unimaginably huge force immediately bombarded the sword formation diagram, forming a destructive force that was enough to kill an early True Crossing realm cultivator. It spread crazily along the sword formation diagram. The sword formation diagram beneath Ning Fan's feet let out an earth-shattering boom and directly exploded into countless pieces. The destructive force continued to spread crazily and reached the body of the 4-armed giant, causing it to tremble violently. The 4-armed giant's action of slashing the sword light immediately stopped. Its eyes were filled with fear. At the next moment, the 4-armed giant let out a blood-curdling scream. Its illusory body was torn into countless pieces by the destructive force. Its blood spilled across the sky. The 4 purple sword lights in the sky also exploded at the same time, turning into countless fragments of flying swords. The ugly woman whose life was connected to the 4 swords turned pale and spurted out a mouthful of blood just like the burly man in green robes. Her expression when she looked at Ning Fan was filled with disbelief. This man is just a peak ghost profound realm cultivator. He actually destroyed the 4 directions sword formation that I had painstakingly refined for tens of thousands of years with just a kick. Even early True Crossing realm old monsters wouldn't be able to do this. Is this man really just a ghost profound realm cultivator? There won't be a third time. Ning Fan's cold eyes glanced at the 14 military masters. Then he leaped and was about to flee out of the lunar calamity sea. He had already given the 14 military masters of the Ghost Weapon sect 2 chances out of respect for the Luo clan. However, if these people continue to be stubborn and insist on pestering him, he would definitely not show any mercy. This man's abilities aren't weak. Let's attack together and take him down. The person with the highest cultivation base among the 14 military masters ordered coldly. It was a plump old man. His entire body was covered in armor. Only his gloomy eyes could be seen. He was the number 1 military master among the 14 military masters. His cultivation base was also the highest among them. As soon as he gave the order, all the military masters immediately soared into the sky and surrounded Ning Fan. This man has killed the sect master of the Seven Fiends sect. We can't give our old ancestor an explanation. We will certainly be refined by him. Even if we have to kill him here today, We must stop him from leaving the ghost weapon sect. We must not let him leave alive. The plump old man ordered in a deep voice. The eyes of the 13 military masters were filled with killing intent. Each of them took out their magic treasures and charged towards Ningfan. With the joint attack of these 14 people, unless he was a mid-true crossing realm expert, it was impossible for him to break out of the encirclement. The disciples who guarded the mountain and the 7-second step cultivators who came here to seek treasures were all shocked. They had never thought that the 14 military masters of the ghost weapon sect would actually attack the dignified tombkeeper of the Luo clan. This was simply a provocation to the dignity of the Luo clan, the War King. The coldness in Ningfan's eyes reached its peak at this moment. He had given in to them several times, but the other party kept pushing him. He did not want to attack them because they were cultivators of the ghost weapon sect. However, they did not care about his identity as the tombkeeper of the Luo clan and acted recklessly. Since that was the case, why should he show mercy to them? Since these people dared to try to kill him, they would have to bear all the consequences. Just 14 vessels and you dare to attack me? Since that's the case, I will definitely force all of you to reveal your true form. As soon as Ningfan said those words, the expressions of the 14 military masters changed drastically. Everyone around them was puzzled. It was hard for them to imagine that Ningfan could actually see through the secrets in their bodies, even though he was not an old monster, who was known as the Broken Thoughts Old Monster. Given the ghost weapon old ancestors' refining technique, normally, only those old monsters who were known as the Broken Thoughts Old Monsters would be able to see through their secrets. Everyone was shocked and their attacks could not help but slow down. Before all the attacks could reach him, a wave of black flames suddenly flashed under Ningfan's feet and gently spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, he left an afterimage that was rapidly disappearing from where he was standing. His actual body directly appeared behind the 3 late Ghost Profound Realm military masters. Without saying any unnecessary words, he directly threw a punch at the 3 of them. This punch contained all the essence, chi and power of the ancient devil body. Its destructive power was far beyond the endurance of ordinary early true crossing realm cultivators. It was definitely not something that a few late Ghost Profound Realm military masters could withstand. The entire heaven and earth around the Devil Mountain seemed to have been frozen by this punch. All living beings below the true crossing realm seemed to have turned into nothingness under this punch. The 3 late Ghost Profound Realm military masters only had the time to turn their heads to look at Ningfan in horror before they were hit by his fist light. All of their consciousness was suspended at this moment. An indescribable pain became the last thing they felt. Being hit by this person's fist light feels like being hit by an entire cultivation planet. This person's strength is really strong and his body refinement realm is really shocking. Bang, bang, bang. The physical bodies of the 3 late Ghost Profound Realm military masters directly turned into blood mist under Ningfan's fist light. The 3 of them did not carry any storage pouches with them. It was quite strange. At the instant the 3 of them died, 3 pearls that shone with a silver light immediately appeared in the sky. The power of their nascent divinities, as well as the essence of their flesh and blood, were all absorbed by the pearls. Those pearls had been nourished in the bodies of the 3 late Ghost Profound Realm military masters for many years. Those pearls were 3 peak 5th Nirvana acquired immortal treasures. The true bodies of these 3 military masters are actually nourishing such powerful magic treasures. Could it be that all the military masters of the Ghost Weapon sect are nourishing magic treasures? Could it be? Du Jun, one of the 7 cultivators who sought the treasures, immediately exclaimed. He seemed to have understood something and gained a new understanding of the cruelty of the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect. I once heard that there is an extremely cruel method of refining treasures in the cultivation world. It uses the human body to nourish magic treasures. Could it be? Could it be? Du Jun, another cultivator who sought the treasures, also understood something at this moment. He immediately felt a chill down his spine towards the old ancestor of the Ghost Weapon sect. Ningfan casually kept the 3 acquired pearls. After killing 3 people in a row, he moved like a ghost and appeared behind the 4th person again. He stretched out both of his hands and exerted a tremendous force that seemed to be able to tear heaven and earth apart. He directly tore a peak ghost profound realm military master into pieces. After that, he kept the pearls in his body. Then he went on to the fifth person, the sixth person and the seventh person. Ning Fan's movement technique was too fast. It was so fast that none of the military masters could capture his movements. The only thing they could see was the black flames that kept appearing everywhere in the vast sky, and the afterimages that kept fading away. The only thing they could hear was the miserable screams of the military masters. The burly man in green robes was the 10th person Ning Fan killed. When Ning Fan appeared behind him, the hairs on his body stood on end. He wanted to turn around and defend himself, but he did not have the time to do so at all. An intense pain spread throughout his body. His physical body was immediately torn into countless pieces by Ning Fan. His blood sprayed across the vast sky like a rain of blood. As for the 10th pearl in his body, Ning Fan took it away with a raise of his hand. In the vast sky, 10 people had fallen in a row within a very short period of time. Only 4 military masters were left. When the 4 of them looked at Ning Fan, their expressions were filled with shock. The strength that Ning Fan had shown by killing 10 people in a row was not any weaker than a mid-Duzhen-old monster. I have never heard of any ghost profound realm expert whose strength could approach the mid-Duzhen realm. At this moment, the plump old man's eyes were filled with astonishment. However, at the next moment, his astonishment turned into ruthlessness and he said coldly, "No matter what, I must kill this young man. Otherwise, I won't be able to give my old ancestor an explanation. Junior brother, junior sister, all of you can die now. Only when all of you are dead will I have the strength to kill this young man." As soon as the plump old man finished speaking, he suddenly activated the pearls in his body. At the moment he activated the pearls, the other 3 military masters including the ugly woman revealed expressions of shock and anger. All of them glared at the plump old man. There was even a hint of fear in their expressions. Before they could say anything, their bodies suddenly inflated like balloons. When they had inflated to the maximum, they exploded into countless pieces of flesh and blood. Their flesh, blood, essence and primordial spirits were all absorbed by the pearls in their bodies. After the 3 of them died, the 3 pearls immediately turned into 3 rays of light and flew into the plump old man's body. All of a sudden, the plump old man revealed an extremely painful expression. His originally plump body seemed to have been devoured by something. In an instant, he became thinner and his life force rapidly flowed away. His chi became lifeless. However, his aura force continued to rise. In an instant, it had almost reached the peak of the early Duzhen realm. Well done. Well done. You have killed my junior brothers and sisters. Now I will kill you and take back all the pearls. After devouring them all, I can naturally borrow the power of the pearls to improve my cultivation base greatly. It will also be very likely for me to step into the mid-Duzhen realm. The plump old man smiled coldly. His body suddenly grew taller, and he strode forward. Every time he took a step forward, the entire sky would tremble violently. His aura force also became slightly stronger. After taking 5 steps, the old man's body suddenly shone with a bloody light. Traces of magic power flowed out of his body, turning into waves of blood mist that wrapped around his body. His entire body was hidden in the mist. All of a sudden, he moved at an extremely fast speed, directly rushing towards Ning Fan like a meteor. The force of the collision was enough to instantly kill any Duzhen whose cultivation base had yet to stabilize. Inside the blood mist, the old man was chanting an incantation. The space within 10,000 zhang seemed to have frozen, not allowing Ning Fan to escape. This plump old man was trying to kill Ning Fan in a single move. At this moment, Ning Fan's eyes were ignited with the flames of battle intent. After the 9 traces of battle intent, they suddenly hovered around his body. Then they flashed and went back into his body. His black hair turned blood red. At this moment, his white robes were enshrouded in a bloody light, turning into a blood-red robe. His body also began to grow taller. His ancient devil cultivation base, on the other hand, had skyrocketed the moment he turned into a red robe with red hair and robes. Originally, his ancient devil cultivation base had already reached the peak of the Sichen realm. and there was still a slight distance between him and the heavenly devil realm. However, at this moment, Ning Fan used a secret technique to forcefully increase the strength of his physical body to the heavenly devil realm. The secret technique that he used was naturally the war god art. The first nirvana level of the 12 nirvana of the heavenly devil realm corresponded to the early Dujin realm. After displaying the first transformation of the war god, Ning Fan's ancient devil cultivation base had already advanced to the first nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. At this moment, when Ning Fan activated his essence chi and magic power at the same time, he was no longer any weaker than an ordinary mid-Dujin realm expert. As soon as he raised his hand and pressed his 5 fingers together, the entire heaven and earth immediately trembled violently. The sound of glass shattering resounded. The sky that was originally tightly sealed was immediately broken. Not good. The plump old man's heart suddenly skipped a beat. A feeling of extreme danger immediately rushed into his heart. Ning Fan took a step forward and directly walked towards the plump old man. At the moment when he was about to be hit by the latter, he suddenly raised his hand and threw 3 punches in a split second. Bang! 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 The first ray of fist light stopped the momentum of the plump old man's attack. The second ray of fist light dispersed the blood mist on the plump old man's body. The third ray of fist light directly smashed the plump old man's armor into pieces. The aftershock of the fist light immediately hit the plump old man's body, causing him to spurt out blood and fly backwards. The fist light also contained an irresistible destructive force that wreaked havoc in the plump old man's body. In just an instant, the plump old man's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He was on the verge of death. Although he managed to stabilize his momentum, his combat power was already unstable in the sky. His limbs and bones were all in extreme pain. He no longer had the strength to continue fighting. The way he looked at Ning Fan was filled with incomparable fear. Impossible. You are just a ghost profound realm expert. How could you have the combat power of a mid-Dujin realm expert? You can't kill me. If you kill me, my old ancestor will certainly. The plump old man's face was filled with fear. In his eyes, Ning Fan, whose red hair and red robes were fluttering in the wind, was walking towards him step by step. His eyes were filled with killing intent. The terrifying baleful chi of a devil monarch turned into a bloody flame and spread wildly under Ning Fan's feet. He wanted to beg for mercy and threaten Ning Fan. However, before he could finish his words, he felt a sharp pain coming from his body. Unknowingly, Ning Fan, who was walking towards them, had already left behind an afterimage on his original spot. A destructive force fiercely bombarded the plump old man's back, completely ending his life. Bang! After a loud explosion, the old man's body exploded into a mist of blood, leaving behind 4 precious pearls. Ning Fan waved his hand and kept the pearls. Then he directly descended towards the mountain gate of the ghost weapon sect. He was not afraid of the plump old man's threat. He quietly looked at the direction of the mountain gate, ignoring the terrified expressions of all the cultivators in the area. From the mountain gate, a bald old man who was as skinny as a match slowly walked out. He looked like a zombie, and his expression when he looked at Ning Fan was filled with a hint of coldness. Little friend, it's fine if you killed those containers. However, you actually dared to kill the sect master of the 7 evil sect. Aren't you going to give me an explanation? Even if you are Luo Shi's subordinate, if you don't give me a satisfactory explanation, don't even think about leaving the Een Moonstar alive today. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He didn't expect that after coming to the ghost weapon sect, he would not only fail to obtain the devil armor, but also become enemies with the ghost weapon sect. This enmity was inexplicably caused by the 7 evil sect. However, even if he could relive his life, even if he knew that he would offend the ghost weapon sect, he would still resolutely kill the sect master of the 7 evil sect. He would also not be afraid of the ghost weapon old ancestor. Suddenly, the ancient devil puppet was summoned into Ning Fan's sleeve. Even though the ghost weapon old ancestor was at the early shedding Kong realm, his chi was slightly weaker than the ancient devil puppet. Since the ghost weapon old ancestor insisted on picking a fight with him, Ning Fan did not mind completely destroying the ghost weapon sect. At the moment when Ning Fan took out the ancient devil puppet, the ghost weapon old ancestor suddenly felt a sense of fear. It was as if the junior in front of him was hiding something dangerous that could endanger his life. If that was the case, the ghost weapon old ancestor would not be afraid of Ningfan. However, the next cold voice transmission made the ghost weapon old ancestor's expression change drastically. His expression when he looked at Ningfan was filled with deep fear. The voice transmission could only be heard by the ghost weapon old ancestor. However, the aura force of the voice transmission had reached the aura force of the third tribulation immortal king. The person who transmitted the voice was obviously a third tribulation immortal king. The immortal king's tone was filled with anger. The reason for his anger was not because Ningfan had killed the sect master of the seven evil sect and his plague cauldron, but because a mere cultivator of the ghost weapon sect dared to attack Ningfan. If he was not mistaken, Ningfan was that big shot. Qinggui, how dare you provoke this person? You are simply courting death. If you don't want to live anymore, you can kill yourself. Don't drag me into this. Do you know who this person is? Do you know how terrifying his backing is? Do you know that if you offend this person, not only you, but also the 4 billion cultivators on the Een Moon Star, including me, will have their primordial spirits extracted and refined into the plague flag? You idiot! Why did I raise such an idiot like you? Even if I raise a pig, it will still be 100 times smarter than you. Lu Feng was almost exasperated. He was the master that the seven evil sect master mentioned. He was the immortal king who was secretly hiding behind the ghost weapon sect. Yesterday, I updated until 4 o'clock a.m. My thoughts were blocked, and I could only write 1,000 words. I really don't have the mood. I will now update yesterday's third update, excluding today's update. I will try my best to write 2 more updates today. Chapter 822. LV Feng was currently standing on an abandoned planet. This abandoned planet was extremely far away from the Een Moon planet, but with the strength of his divine sense, he could naturally see everything that was happening on the Een Moon planet. Even though Ningfan had already hidden the Gu King token in the profound Een world, there was one thing that he did not know. Even if the parasite token was hidden in a dimensional realm, it could still be sensed. The premise of this was that the other party also had the parasite token. Lu Fan cursed at Qinggui before he calmed down a little. He looked at the plague token in his hand and immediately sighed. On the plague token, there was an irreparable crack, which meant that he was an abandoned cultivator of the Southern Clan. That Seven Fiends sect master was one of the plague cauldrons that this old man had painstakingly found. It could help this old man recover a little of my cultivation base. Unfortunately, he died. If it was someone else who killed him, this old man would certainly not let them go. But if it was fellow Taoist Zhao Jian, this old man wouldn't dare to pursue this matter. However, this old man had never expected that fellow Taoist Zhao Jian, whom I met that day, was actually only at the peak of the Ghost Profound Realm. But it's also possible that this Ghost Profound Realm cultivation base was disguised by the innate spirit equipment. This old man still can't see through it completely. Regardless of his true cultivation base, the fact that he's a member of the Southern Clan alone is enough to prove that this old man can't afford to offend him. Among the 10 great secret clans, the Southern Clan is the most protective of their own. No one would interfere if the clansmen of the Southern Clan were to kill each other, but if an outsider were to make a move and harm a member of the Southern Clan, the Southern Clan would definitely retaliate with all their might. In the entire Eastern Heaven immortal world, I'm afraid there isn't any power that can withstand the wrath of the 4 factions of the Southern Clan. Even the Godly Void Pavilion, the Slaughter Palace and the Formi sect cannot afford to provoke them. LV Feng couldn't help but shiver at the thought of how terrifying the Southern tribe was. When he thought about it again, if it wasn't for him sending a voice transmission in time to stop old ancestor Ghost Soldier from acting foolishly, he might have already taken action against Ningfan. Once he makes a move against Ningfan, it would trigger the Southern Clan to take revenge on him. The 4 great emperors of the 4 clans would come out at the same time. LV Feng simply did not dare to imagine the consequences. Thinking of this, LV Feng's heart burned again, and he scolded the Ghost Soldier Patriarch through voice transmission again. Qinggui, oh Qinggui, I'm warning you. If you can't appease this person's anger and insist on offending him, then you don't have to wait for the person behind this person to kill you. This old man will be the first to strike and kill you. LV Feng's furious words were clearly heard by the Ghost Soldier Patriarch. At this moment, Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor was completely dumbfounded. He looked at Ning Fan with extreme shock. Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor couldn't imagine what Ning Fan's background was. Even the infamous Plague King Lu Feng was afraid of him. This kid is just a ghost profound realm cultivator. Even if the Eastern Heaven Immortal Emperor is standing behind him, it's absolutely impossible for the dignified Plague King to be so afraid. This LV Feng has always been notorious for killing the descendants of immortal emperors. When he becomes ruthless, he has even killed many disciples of the Divine Void Emperor. There is only one possibility for this person to instill fear in LV Feng. The backer behind this person was an existence that was even more terrifying than the Eastern Sky's various kings. It was an existence even stronger than the Godly Void Pavilion. Could the force behind this person be a secret clan? As soon as he thought of this possibility, Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor's face immediately turned pale. He no longer had the demeanor of a senior expert. If Ning Fan was really a member of the secret clan, not only would Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor and LV Feng not dare to touch him, even the Eastern Heaven Immortal Emperors would have to think twice if they wanted to touch him. In the Four Heavens Immortal world, there were almost no cultivators who dared to touch a member of the secret clan. Only a crazy person like Sun Luo dared to invade the Dark Race and kill the Dark Race's immortal emperor. No one else had such courage. However, even Sun Luo was once besieged by a colossus like the Dark Race, and was on the verge of death. That year, the Dark Race's immortal emperor was killed by Sun Luo. His army then arrived at the Godly Void Pavilion. Even Xiang Bozi had no choice but to compromise and make a great sacrifice to appease the Dark Race's anger and save Sun Luo's life. Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor did not know about these secrets, but it did not hinder his reverence towards the secret clan. It can't be wrong. The meaning of Plague King's words was clearly hinting to me that this kid is a member of the secret clan. This person isn't someone I, a mere Shikong, can afford to offend. The gloomy expression on his ugly face disappeared. He turned to Ning Fan and squeezed out an ugly smile. The way he looked at Ning Fan was no longer as gloomy as before. Instead, his expression was amiable, as if he was looking at a close friend that he had not seen for many years. He cupped his fists and said politely, "Little friend, I admire your courage. What I said just now was just to test your courage. I don't really want to do anything to you. I hope you won't misunderstand me." Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor was eccentric and unruly. He was ruthless and vicious. In the entire Eastern Heaven, the only cultivators who could make him treat politely were the ancient monsters. According to his personality, it was impossible for him to be polite to a Ghost Profound Realm Junior. Moreover, this Ghost Profound Realm Junior was the murderer who killed the 14th military leader. All the cultivators on the scene, be it the cultivators who came to seek treasures or the cultivators of the Ghost Soldier sect, were all in disbelief when they saw the scene. Even Ning Fan's eyes darkened. When he looked at Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor again, his eyes were filled with a hint of probing. This man's words are false. The killing intent he showed me just now was definitely not a test. He really wanted to kill me. However, the friendly intention he showed now doesn't seem to be a pretense either. It seems like something has changed his decision in an instant. Is it because this man noticed that I have a shedding void puppet with me? Or is there something that I don't know about happening to this man? Ning Fan's mind was racing and his brows were tightly knitted. Suddenly his expression changed. He felt a trace of response from the profound Yin world. That response came from the Gu King token. With his spirit sense, he couldn't detect LV Feng, who was extremely far away from the Yin moon star. However, at this moment, the Gu King token vaguely sensed the existence of the plague token on LV Feng's body. It's LV Feng. Could it be? All of a sudden, countless guesses emerged in Ning Fan's mind. Some of the doubts he had before seemed to have been answered. However, what he didn't expect was that even if he put the Gu King token into the profound Yin world, it still couldn't block the connection between the tokens. If that was the case, His true identity had most likely been exposed to LV Feng. This might be a big trouble. What are you guys still doing in my ghost weapon sect? My disciples are all dead. There are no more 14 weapon masters here. No one will refine magic treasures for you. All of you can leave now. Ghost weapon old ancestor's eyes suddenly turned sharp and shouted coldly at the 7-second step cultivators who were watching the scene. Then, he exerted his shedding void spirit force, causing the 5 life immortal realm cultivators to spurt out blood and retreat. Even the 2 Duzhen cultivators' faces turned red. Their chi and blood flowed in reverse, and their expressions were filled with panic. Under the shock and fear, the 7 of them naturally didn't dare to stay any longer. They hurriedly flew away from the Een Moon Star. Upon seeing that, Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor let out a cold harumph and released his aura force, causing the disciples who were guarding the mountain to spurt out blood crazily. Their faces were filled with terror. Everyone go back and cultivate. Within 3 months, none of you are allowed to step out of your cave residence. You are not allowed to mention what happened today again. Yes. All the disciples hurried back to their own cave residences. None of them dared to stay any longer. Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor was not a kind person in the first place. He would not be polite to any juniors, and he had always been unscrupulous in his actions. However, Ning Fan was just an exception. If Lu Feng hadn't arrived, Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor would have already attacked Ning Fan. Senior, do you have something to tell me by chasing everyone away? Ning Fan asked with an indifferent tone. Hehe. The reason why I chased everyone away was because I wanted to spend some time alone with little friend, and clear up some misunderstandings. These 14 weapon masters are my disciples in name. However, in reality, they are just the vessels that I used to nurture my magic treasures. Their lives will be devoured by my magic treasures sooner or later. Therefore, I don't have any dissatisfaction when little friend kills them. Even if you use up the vessels, you can still find more, can't you? However, about the 14 blood goo pearls, can little friend? As he said that, Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor suddenly wore an expectant look, hoping that Ning Fan would return the 14 pearls. Just like what he had said, he did not value the lives of his 14 disciples. Even if Ning Fan did not take action, those 14 people would be killed by Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor sooner or later, and used to refine the pearls. Ning Fan already knew about this. From the moment he saw through the secrets of the 14 weapon masters, he knew how cold-blooded and heartless Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor was to his disciples. This was also the reason why Ning Fan despised Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor the most. This person was unworthy of being his master. As for the blood goo pearl, Ning Fan did not really value it. From his point of view, the blood goo pearl was not a magic treasure. It was clearly a type of goo that devoured one's vitality. The owner of the blood goo pearl could borrow the power of the pearl to slightly increase their cultivation base. However, they would need to provide their flesh and primordial spirit for the pearl to devour. When the owner dies, the pearl could still find another owner, and continue to absorb the essence of the flesh and blood of others. Swallowing this pearl would mean walking towards death step by step. Ning Fan naturally would not use such a magic treasure with great disadvantages. However, it would not be easy for him to return the blood goo pearl. Before stepping into Ghost Weapon Sect, Ning Fan was still considerate of the friendship between Luo Clan and Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor. However, the current him no longer had any good impression of Ghost Weapon Sect. Luo Sure had once vaguely told me that there is an immortal king standing behind Ghost Weapon Sect. Now it seems like that immortal king is most likely Lu Feng. Before I killed the sect master of the Seven Fiends sect, he seemed to be cultivating a technique. I did not pay much attention to it at that time. Now that I think about it, that technique seems to be the plague technique. This sect master of the Seven Fiends sect has a low cultivation base, but he is highly valued by Ghost Weapon Sect. It is highly possible that this person has some kind of relationship with Lu Feng. The drastic change in the attitude of Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor towards me from arrogance to respect is probably caused by Lu Feng. Lu Feng feared me because he thought that I was a cultivator of the Southern Clan. In the past, I was unwilling to pretend to be a cultivator of the Southern Clan, because I was afraid of attracting trouble. However, Now that my true identity has been seen through by Lu Feng and I am recognized as a cultivator of the Southern Clan, I can only continue to pretend to be a cultivator of the Southern Clan. If Lu Feng finds out that I am not a member of the Southern Clan, I'm afraid he will be the first person to settle old scores with me. Ning Fan's thoughts raced and he finally made up his mind. Hehe. I wonder if little friend can return the blood goo bead to me? Ghost Weapon Old Ancestor's expression was extremely respectful. There was no trace of the dignity of Old Ancestor Shikong at all. If I want the blood goo bead back, don't I have to pay a price? Ning Fan's tone was extremely indifferent. However, when his words fell into the ears of Old Ancestor Gui Xian, he seemed to be dissatisfied. Fear immediately filled the eyes of Old Ancestor Gui Xian. He thought to himself that it was over. Those 14 idiotic vessels of his had really offended Ning Fan. Ning Fan was going to extort money from him. Only a cultivator of the secret race would have the guts to extort money from him with his cultivation base. Truth be told, Old Ancestor Gui Xian did not care whether he wanted the blood goo bead back or not. However, he could see that Ning Fan's heart was filled with anger. If he does not quell this anger, not to mention the Southern Clan behind Ning Fan, even Lu Feng would not spare him. Hehe. My ghost weapon sect has offended little friend first. It's only natural for us to pay the price. I wonder what little friend wants. Old Ancestor Gui Xian asked with an apologetic smile. That will depend on your sincerity. Ning Fan smiled meaningfully. Sincerity? Not a problem. Not a problem. Little friend, take this item. You can see my sincerity. Old Ancestor Gui Xian pondered for a moment, and made up his mind. He directly untied the storage pouch on his waist, and handed it to Ning Fan generously. Ning Fan scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense. There were hundreds of billions of Dao crystals inside. There were also quite a number of magic treasures with high grades. The lowest grade of these magic treasures were immortal treasures. A few of them were acquired immortal treasures. Among them, there were even a few acquired immortal treasures that had reached the 5th Nirvana realm. 5th Nirvana acquired immortal treasures were commonly used by early Shikong realm cultivators. Is this sincerity enough? Ning Fan asked with a faint smile. When Old Ancestor Gui Xian saw Ning Fan's smile, he immediately felt terrified. How is this a smile? This is dissatisfaction. Is it not enough? Sure enough, all the cultivators of the secret races have their eyes on the top of their heads. Putting aside the Dao crystals, the magic treasures in this storage pouch are something that even old monster Shikong realm cultivators would be tempted by. However, he doesn't care about them at all. Are all the cultivators of the secret races like this? Old Ancestor Gui Xian gritted his teeth and pondered for a moment. Then he suddenly touched his glabella. Immediately, a cloud of purple mist flew out from his glabella. When he pointed his finger at it, that cloud of purple mist immediately floated towards Ning Fan. Little friend, do you recognize this item? Old Ancestor Gui Xian hid his pained expression and asked with a smile. Heavenly Dao Violet Qi, huh? Of course I recognize it. Ning Fan grabbed the cloud of purple mist. His expression was still as calm as an ancient well, but his heart was already moved. In the past, Ning Fan had only heard of the Heavenly Dao Violet Qi. Today he finally got to see it with his own eyes. Every time the Heavenly Dao evolved for tens of thousands of years, a trace of purple Qi would be born between heaven and earth. The source of the purple Qi determined that this item was extremely rare. This item was often used by the cultivators above Shikong to nurture their Dao soldiers. It could greatly increase the power of their Dao soldiers. A trace of purple Qi could be sold for around 300 billion Dao crystals. Moreover, most of them were priceless. If an ordinary Shikong cultivator uses 2 or 3 traces of purple Qi, he or she would be invincible at the same level as him or her with just the power of the Dao soldiers. There was no need for divine abilities. As a famous refinement expert of his generation, it was not strange for Old Ancestor Gui Xian to possess a trace of purple Qi. Hehe. What do you think, little friend? Can this Heavenly Dao Violet Qi see my sincerity? Seeing that Ning Fan recognized this item, Old Ancestor Gui Xian immediately heaved a sigh of relief. This Heavenly Dao Violet Qi was extremely precious. Even he was reluctant to use it. Now that he had to take out a gift to apologize to Ning Fan, his heart naturally ached. However, if it could make up for his previous mistake and ease the relationship between him and Ning Fan, a mere trace of heavenly Dao Violet Qi was not a big deal. Anyway, I still have 3 traces of purple Qi with me. These are all the treasures that I have accumulated after refining magic treasures for others in my entire life. The items in my storage pouch are nothing compared to them. Old ancestor Guixian thought. The value of this item is naturally much higher than the 14 acquired pearls. Since Senior has given me this item, I'm very willing to return the blood goo pearls. Hearing Ning Fan's words, which seemed to have the intention of writing off all the grudges between them, old ancestor Guixian was immediately overjoyed. However, before he could feel happy for a moment, Ning Fan's next words immediately made him unable to smile anymore. But, Senior, are you only going to give me 1 trace of purple Qi? Ning Fan asked with a smile. A ray of green light quietly flashed across his eyes. No one noticed it. With just a glance, he could see that there were 3 other traces of heavenly Dao Violet Qi in old ancestor Guixian's body. Hee. Little friend, you must be joking. The heavenly Dao Violet Qi is a precious item. It's already rare for me to have 1 trace. I definitely don't have a second trace. Before old ancestor Guixian could finish his words, he was already interrupted by Ning Fan. Wrong. There are still 3 traces of purple Qi in your body. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned serious. A ray of green light flashed. Immediately, an invisible force of the great Dao rushed towards old ancestor Guixian. At this moment, old ancestor Guixian did not feel uncomfortable at all. He only felt that his whole body was seen through by Ning Fan. It should be extremely absurd for a dignified old monster, Shikong, to be seen through by a profound ghost realm cultivator with just a glance. However, it had already happened. Old ancestor Guixian had no choice but to believe that everything was the truth. Ning Fan had revealed the number of purple Qi in his body. How could it not be the truth? Moreover, at this moment, Ning Fan had an ethereal temperament that was as ethereal as the Dao. Old ancestor Guixian felt that the person standing in front of him was not a person, but the myriad of Daos in the heavens. Give me the remaining 3 traces of purple Qi, and the grudge between me and your ghost weapon sect will be written off. Otherwise, alright. Here. The 3 traces of purple Qi are all yours. Without needing any threat from Ning Fan, old ancestor Guixian had already touched his glabella, and took out the other 3 traces of purple Qi, and handed them to Ning Fan. His reverence towards the 10 great secret clans rose once again. He's just a mere profound ghost realm cultivator. Just because he comes from one of the secret clans, he already possesses such abilities. The 10 great secret clans are indeed not something that ordinary people like us can afford to offend. Far away, on the abandoned star, LV Wen's face was filled with disbelief when he saw Ning Fan's eyes flashing with green light. The unity of heaven and man. That green light is definitely the unity of heaven and man. Could it be that fellow Daoist Zhao Jian was the one who triggered the Heaven-Man phenomenon in the Eastern Sea Star region that day? If that's the case, it's certainly impossible for him to be some profound ghost realm cultivator. He's definitely an ancient cultivator. Moreover, he's one of the ancient cultivators with peerless potential in the Southern Clan. His profound ghost realm cultivation base is definitely fake. Even in our Southern Clan, there's less than 1 in 10 ancient cultivators who can comprehend the unity of heaven and man. As for profound ghost realm cultivators, it's totally impossible. Since he hid his cultivation base and snuck into the Eastern Sea Star region, he must be plotting something big. Amazing. Amazing. Fellow Daoist Zhao Jian's cultivation base is hidden so well. Let alone me. I'm afraid even the 2 divine void emperors can't see through his cultivation base. I wonder what fellow Daoist Zhao is planning to do in the Eastern Sea Star region. It must be a top-secret mission that the old monsters in the clan gave him. If I can help him in the process of carrying out his mission, he will certainly put in a good word for me in front of the sovereign emperors when he returns to the Southern Clan in the future. Sure enough, my divination was not wrong. This Zhao Jian is the person who is destined to be my benefactor. Chapter 823. In the end, Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor agreed to help Ning Fan forge a star-defying devil armor. It was no longer for the sake of the Luo clan, but for the sake of Ning Fan's powerful background. He would also do his best to forge a perfect set of armor for Ning Fan. Refining a magic armor was not something that could be completed overnight. According to the Ghost Soldier Patriarch's experience, it would take at least 10 years to successfully refine this magic armor. However, when Ning Fan casually asked if it could be completed before the grave competition, the old man's expression changed. Ghost Soldier Patriarch immediately swore that if he used the Immolate Mystic technique, he would be able to refine the star-defying fiend armor within 2 years. Burning Mystic technique. Burning the primordial spirit of a refiner to shorten the time needed to fuse and form the magical treasure. In order to please me, this Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor has spared no effort. All of this is because he thinks that I'm a cultivator of a secret race, but he doesn't know that everything he believes is false, and I can't let him know the truth. Ning Fan left the Een Moon Star and rushed towards the divine tomb. Inwardly he sighed with emotion. This southern tribe cultivator would most likely have to continue acting. A single lie would require countless more lies to make up for it. As long as the person he was deceiving was an enemy like the Ghost Soldier Old Ancestor, he would have a clear conscience. In a state of panic, Ning Fan recalled the teachings of the old monster in the past, recalling all the things that happened in the past. That year, his cultivation base was still low, and he called himself Black Devil, deceiving the people of Yu country. Demons must know how to deceive, otherwise they would not be able to survive in this world. If you want to deceive others, you must first deceive yourself. Either he subdues the world with his might, or he deceives the world. After leaving the Een Moon Star, Ning Fan rushed all the way to the divine tomb. He had always felt that there was a shadow following him. According to the Gu token in the profound Een world, that person should be LV1. After flying a certain distance away from the Een Moon Star, Ning Fan found an abandoned star and landed on it. A green light flashed in his eyes. The aura of the great path between heaven and earth immediately became especially sensitive. Stepping on the barren land, Ning Fan lifted his head to look at the boundless void, and said indifferently to a certain uninhabited place, "Fellow Daoist Lu has been following us all the way. What can I do for you?" Hehe, fellow Daoist Zhao's keen senses are actually able to see through my hiding spot. This is not information that can be found out through the Gu token. A crack was immediately torn open in the void, and a fat old man walked out from it. The old man was wearing a mink fur hat. As soon as he landed on the ground, he immediately waddled over like a comical roly-poly doll. His slightly squinted smiling eyes seemed kind, but there was also a bit of gloominess that seeped into his bones, reminding others that he was not a good person. Who else could it be other than LV Feng? There's no need to call me fellow Daoist Zhao. Let me reintroduce myself. My surname is Ning, and my name is Fan. Ning means Ning, and Fan means unwilling to give up the mortal world. Ning Fan's tone remained indifferent. LV Feng was stunned for a moment. Then he gave Ning Fan a meaningful smile and said, I understand. I understand. The mission required him to keep his identity a secret, right? Ning Fan. Yes. Ning Fan. Fellow Daoist Ning, we haven't seen each other for 10 years, but fellow Daoist is still as elegant as ever. Are you really Gui Xian? Why do I feel that it doesn't seem like it? I am indeed a ghost mystic cultivator. I ask fellow Daoist Lu not to make wild guesses. Yes. Gui Xian, it was Gui Xian. Understood. I understand. However, fellow Daoist's method of concealing your cultivation base is really brilliant. LV Feng looked at Ning Fan with admiration. This admiration came from the bottom of his heart. This time, Ning Fan did not summon his ghost face. With his cultivation base of the third eternal tribulation, he could vaguely tell that Ning Fan was a ghost mystic from such a close distance. However, LV Feng firmly believed that Ning Fan was an eternal cultivator, and this ghost mystic was just a disguise. After all, it was impossible for a ghost mystic cultivator to refine innate spiritual equipment or attain the unity of heaven and man. This was an indisputable fact. The more he could not see through Ning Fan's eternal ancient realm cultivation base, the more LV Feng admired him. Ning Fan somewhat admired LV Feng's imagination. He did not need to say anything, and this man was able to make all the unreasonable things in his mind into something reasonable. Hee. It's just a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it, fellow Taoist. LV Feng chuckled. Then he took out another exquisite storage pouch and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan scanned it with his spirit sense. It was another 100 billion Tao crystals. This was really not a small matter. Take it. Fellow Taoist, you must accept it. If you don't accept it, then you're looking down on me, Lu Feng. Lu Feng deliberately kept a straight face, yet the smile on the corners of his mouth didn't diminish, and his expression was just right. If that's the case, I'll accept it. May I know why fellow Taoist has come looking for me today? Fellow Taoist Zhao. No, fellow Taoist Ning. Fellow Taoist Ning. Have you encountered any difficulties during your missions recently? Do you need my help? If there's anything you need, please tell me directly. Don't stand on ceremony with me. Naturally, I'm not doubting fellow Taoist's ability to carry out the task. It's just that the matter fellow Taoist is plotting is of great importance, and there are many things that are inconvenient for you to appear directly, and it's also inconvenient for you to reveal your true cultivation. If you have my help, I'm sure it can save you a lot of trouble. Lu Feng's face was filled with sincerity. As long as Ning Fan gives the order, he would be willing to risk his life for it. Oh, fellow Taoist Lu really wants to help me? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. This LV Feng was an immortal king fighter who had delivered himself to their doorstep. Who knew he might be of some use in many places? Of course. Fellow Taoist Ning, do you need me to do something for you? Lu Feng immediately said with joy after hearing Ning Fan's words. Not at the moment. However, if I encounter any difficulties, I will certainly take the initiative to ask for fellow Taoist's help. That's good. That's good. If fellow Taoist needs anything, I will certainly do my best to help you. LV Feng said confidently. All of a sudden, he seemed to have thought of something and his expression became hesitant. After pondering for a while, he let out a sigh and did not ask the question. His expression was not fake. Fellow Taoist Lu, if you have something to say, feel free to speak your mind. I have a presumptuous request. I hope fellow Taoist can help me take a look. Recently, I've made some mistakes in my cultivation. Due to a moment of carelessness, I've fallen from the fourth tribulation to the third tribulation. I hope fellow Taoist can help me take a look and see if it's possible for me to recover my cultivation base. I've already devoured a few plague cauldrons, but I couldn't improve my cultivation base at all. LV Feng said awkwardly. Almost no one knew that his cultivation base had been destroyed by Sun Luo. He was also too embarrassed to tell others about it. He had no choice. He was a person who cared a lot about his reputation. It was not appropriate for him to spread such a shameful thing around. The reason why he lied and said that he had made a mistake in his cultivation was because he wanted Ning Fan to help him take a look at why he could not recover his cultivation base after devouring the plague cauldrons. If he did not know that Ning Fan had comprehended the unity of heaven and man, perhaps he would not have asked about it. Since Ning Fan was a cultivator who had comprehended the unity of heaven and man, his comprehension ability was naturally extremely high. Who knows, he might be able to give him some pointers. Fellow Taoist, you can't recover your cultivation base after devouring the plague cauldrons. So you want me to take a look at what went wrong? Yes. Is fellow Taoist willing to help me? LV Feng asked earnestly. Ning Fan wore a thoughtful expression, as if he was considering it. Inwardly, however, he was smiling bitterly. Since he had comprehended the unity of heaven and man, his comprehension ability was naturally extremely high. Occasionally, he might have some Tao insights which were beyond the reach of even the ancient monsters. However, in terms of cultivation experience, he was definitely not comparable to LV Feng, who was an ancient monster who had lived for tens of millions of years. The two words eternity referred to the fact that one must go through the ages. Some cultivation experiences could not be understood just by being smart. One must go through a long period of time in order to understand them. Ning Fan was very self-aware. He knew that he did not have the qualifications to guide LV Feng in his cultivation at all. However, after thinking about it carefully, LV Feng did not seem to want him to teach him how to cultivate in a rigid manner. Instead, he just wanted Ning Fan to help him find out what the problem was in his cultivation. If it's just this kind of thing, Ning Fan might be able to help LV Feng discover some problems with his eyesight, which was the unity of heaven and man. As expected, fellow Taoist still isn't willing to help me. LV Feng sighed in disappointment. Ning Fan pondered for a while, and finally said, I can help you take a look. However, I can't guarantee that I can definitely help you find out the root of your problem. It doesn't matter. Fellow Taoist is a cultivator who has comprehended the unity of heaven and man. If you can't find out the root of my problem, I don't think there are many people who can. LV Feng was very confident in Ning Fan. Relax your entire body. Don't resist the power of my medicine soul. Ning Fan said indifferently. At the next moment, he released the power of his 5-colored medicine soul and sent it into LV Feng's body to carefully examine his condition. After hearing Ning Fan's words, LV Feng naturally did not dare to move. However, he was very surprised by the power of Ning Fan's medicine soul. He was not surprised by the grade of his mid-7th revolution medicine soul. There was no need for him to boast about such a grade in the 4 heavens. What surprised him was that Ning Fan also possessed the legendary 5-colored medicine soul. In the past, I only knew that there was a leading disciple of the medicine sect in the 4 heavens who possessed a 5-colored medicine soul that countless pill refinement masters were envious of. I didn't expect that fellow Taoist would also possess this kind of diluted medicine soul power. Sure enough, fellow Taoist is not an ordinary person. However, the grade of your medicine soul is a little low. I suppose fellow Taoist is busy with cultivation, and you probably don't want to divert your attention to cultivating pill refinement. Sigh. It's really a pity. If fellow Taoist is willing to spend a few million years to cultivate pill refinement, with your innate potential, you will most likely have a high attainment in the Tao of pill. LV Feng sighed regretfully. After hearing LV Feng's words, Ning Fan could only smile bitterly. It was not that he did not want to cultivate pill refinement. It was just that he did not have the time to do so at all. His cultivation career had only lasted for a short 200 years. His bone age was also less than 1,000 years. Where could he find a few million years to cultivate pill refinement? After clearing the distracting thoughts in his mind, Ning Fan carefully examined LV Feng's injuries. Without a doubt, those injuries were caused by Sun Luo. There was still some residual force of the dark light finger in LV Feng's body. Sun Luo had deliberately left this force behind. It was as if the residual poison had accumulated in his body, preventing LV Feng from recovering his cultivation base by devouring the plague cauldron. However, this force did not stop LV Feng from using other methods to return to the 4th tribulation of the eternal era. Sure enough, I didn't guess wrongly that day. Sun Luo had intentionally crippled LV Feng's cultivation base, and it was done with good intentions. Even though LV Feng's cultivation base had dropped, his strength did not decrease. Even though the quantity of his magic power has decreased, it has become more solid and its quality is far better than before. In that case, it seems like Sun Luo's force is just to restrict LV Feng from cultivating by devouring the plague cauldron in the past. In other words, LV Feng's mistake lies in devouring the plague cauldron itself. Of course, he knew what a plague cauldron was. It was a special cauldron used by cultivators who cultivated the plague technique. Devil cultivators who cultivated dual cultivation could increase their cultivation base by plucking cultivators of the opposite sex, while cultivators who cultivated the plague technique could create and devour the plague cauldron to increase their cultivation base. He did not know much about the cultivation of the plague technique. However, he could vaguely tell that increasing one's cultivation base by devouring the plague cauldron would cause one's cultivation base to be superficial and cause countless hidden dangers. If I have been relying on plucking human cauldrons to increase my cultivation base throughout my cultivation, I'm sure my magic power would also be superficial, and I would encounter hidden dangers. Fortunately, plucking human cauldrons for cultivation is just one of the methods and not everything. However, for LV Feng, it seems like devouring the plague cauldron is everything. With the similarities between the dual cultivation technique and the plague technique, Ning Fan gradually gained enlightenment. However, he could not guarantee that this enlightenment would be correct. Hence, he could only let LV Feng try it himself. Ning Fan remained silent. His facial expression kept changing. Time passed by minutes and seconds. Gradually, LV Feng's heart began to feel nervous. Could it be that my cultivation base can no longer return to the fourth tribulation realm? If it's fellow Taoist, please tell me frankly. I can accept it. LV Feng's expression was calm, as if he was ready to die. After a while he said resentfully, "My injuries are all because of that bastard." Suddenly, LV Feng realized that he had made a slip of the tongue. He quickly tried to cover it up. "No, it's not that bastard's fault. My injuries are caused by the backlash of my own cultivation. Fellow Taoist, you don't need to hide it. I can naturally see the cause of your injuries. You were injured by someone. The person who injured you must have done it with just a finger." Ning Fan shook his head and exposed LV Feng's lie. As soon as he heard Ning Fan's words, LV Feng's face immediately revealed a look of surprise. He stuttered, "Fellow Taoist, you have really good eyesight. You can actually see that I was injured by the power of a finger. How can I not see that? The person who injured you should be the dark light finger. However, I haven't learned this finger technique and I can't help you resolve it." Ning Fan recalled Sun Luo's appearance when he used the dark light finger every day. He gently lifted his finger and pointed it at the air. Black light condensed between his fingers and then dissipated. That finger looked extremely similar to the dark light finger. However, it was not able to grasp the essence of the technique. "Fellow Taoist, you're really amazing. You actually knew that I was injured by the dark light finger. Moreover, you can even display a little of it. That's the ultimate technique of the dark race." LV Feng's expression gradually became more shocked. "The reason why you couldn't improve your cultivation base after devouring the plague cauldron must be the remaining force of the finger in your body. If I get rid of the remaining force, I can continue devouring the plague cauldron to cultivate, right?" LV Feng immediately said excitedly. "I don't suggest you to get rid of the force. The person who planted the force in your body probably doesn't have any evil intentions." Ning Fan sighed in disappointment. Someone like Sun Luo actually had a kind heart. Yet he did not say anything when he did something good. He even disdained to explain when he injured LV Feng. It really matched Sun Luo's personality. How is that possible? The person who planted the force in my body is that lunatic. He destroyed my cultivation base. How is it possible that he doesn't have any evil intentions? LV Feng snorted coldly. Ning Fan did not want to argue with him on this matter. He just sighed and said, "From today onwards, don't use the plague cauldron to cultivate anymore. You should change to another cultivation method to comprehend by analogy. Perhaps you might obtain some unexpected gains. This is my advice to you. I'll give this to you. Farewell." As soon as Ning Fan finished speaking, he took out a jade slip. He scanned it with his spirit sense and engraved something on it. Then he turned around and left without saying anything else. That was all he could give LV Feng. Besides, the guidance he gave LV Feng was based on what he saw with his own eyes when LV Feng was injured. LV Feng stood alone on the spot and watched Ning Fan leave. He held the jade slip that Ning Fan gave him in his hand. After scanning the contents of the jade slip with his spirit sense, LV Feng's face immediately showed a strange expression. This jade slip actually recorded the experience of a low-level life immortal realm cultivator, who cultivated the dual cultivation technique. What does fellow Taoist Ning mean by giving me the cultivation experience of the dual cultivation technique? Is he hinting me to give up devouring the plague cauldron and change to the cultivation path of plucking human cauldrons? That shouldn't be the case. As a cultivator of my southern clan, fellow Taoist Ning should know that the plague technique I cultivate requires me to guard my primordial yang, and not to get close to women. LV Feng pondered for a while, and looked at the jade slip again. Suddenly he understood something. Comprehend by analogy, comprehend by analogy. Could it be that fellow Taoist Ning is trying to remind me that I can use the dual cultivation technique as a reference to cultivate the plague technique? Devil cultivators who cultivate in the dual cultivation technique are usually weak. It's very difficult for them to reach the peak of the second step. This is because they usually only rely on plucking human cauldrons to increase their cultivation base. Their magic power is usually superficial and their combat strength is naturally low. However, the person recorded in the Jade Slip not only plucked human cauldrons, but also cultivated countless cultivation methods at the same time. Even though he is also a devil cultivator, who cultivates in the dual cultivation technique, he is extremely strong. I've been cultivating like a mad devil throughout my life. I've turned countless people into plague cauldrons and devoured them. That's why I have my current cultivation base. Naturally, my magic power is also a little superficial. After my cultivation base dropped this time, my magic power seems to have become more solid. Is this what the saying fortune and misfortune depend on each other means? Since I can't devour the plague cauldrons, I might as well give up and find other methods to increase my cultivation base. Is this the path I should take? Huff LV Feng suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. The inner demons that had accumulated in his heart, due to the drop of his cultivation base, had all disappeared at this moment. He had no idea whether Ningfan had successfully guided him or not. However, Ningfan's words had rekindled his hope of cultivating to the fourth tribulation. The inner demons in his heart had been completely wiped out. Fellow Taoist Ning, you're indeed the benefactor in my life. If I can cultivate to the fourth tribulation of the eternal era again, I will certainly thank you properly. LV Feng let out a hearty laugh. He looked deeply at the direction where Ningfan had left. Then with a leap he left in another direction. He could naturally tell that Ningfan was going to the Divine Tomb. As for what Ningfan was going to do there, he would not ask. Of course, if Ningfan asks him for help, he would do his best to help him. In the past, it was because he wanted to please Ningfan in exchange for a good word. Now, however, he felt gratitude. Chapter 824. There were only 2 years left before the start of the competition. At the end of the market on the first level of the Divine Tomb, the names of all the tomb guards had been changed to the names of the current batch of tomb guards. There were a total of 4,175 tomb guards in this year's competition. 8 years had passed and many of them had obtained a lot of tomb merit points in the Divine Tomb. Cultivators would gather under the tombstones from time to time to watch the changes of the names on the tombstones. To the tomb guards, the tomb palaces from the 4th to the 6th level were the best places for cultivation. To the tomb guards, apart from obtaining cultivation methods, crystals, relics and other rewards, they would also obtain a certain amount of tomb merit points which would be recorded in the tombstone token. The tomb merit points had no other use other than to measure the strength of the tomb guards. A white-robed young man quietly appeared in the crowd under the tombstone and looked at the names on the tombstone. His appearance was soundless, and not many cultivators noticed his arrival. The person who ranked first was still Jun Zhangdong. He had already obtained 7 million tomb merit points this year. The person who ranked second had also obtained 3 million tomb merit points. Even the person who ranked 100 would have at least 10,000 tomb merit points. As for his tomb merit points, it was still 0. All of this was related to his 8 years of seclusion and his absence from the Divine Tomb. This white-robed young man was really Ningfan, who had just arrived at the Divine Tomb. There were a few cultivators beside Ningfan who were discussing this year's competition. The person who obtained first place in the previous competition couldn't participate in this year's competition, due to his bone age exceeding the limit. I wonder who will obtain first place in this year's competition. In my opinion, the Shadowbind sect will probably obtain first place this year. An elderly life immortal realm cultivator said to a cultivator beside him. Shadowbind sect? Fellow Taoist, are you referring to the Shadow Immortal Monarch, Qin Lian? Senior Qin Lian indeed has a great chance to obtain first place. After all, his cultivation base has already broken through the mid-true crossing realm. In the previous competition he was ranked among the top 3, I think the person who obtained first place in this competition will probably be the disciple of the Pavilion of Ancestors, Su Dao. This person has already been in the intermediate stage of the crossing truth realm for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, he has obtained the true inheritance of great sovereign Shen Kong. His aptitude is enough to be ranked in the top 3 among the 300 disciples of great sovereign Shen Kong. The word Dao is the name that great sovereign Shen Kong personally bestowed upon him because of his praise for his aptitude. I think Bone Immortal Monarch has the highest chance of winning. It was just an accident that he lost in the last competition. How about Fairy Yuhan, the disciple of the Void Sect? Her moon transformation technique has already reached the 9th realm. Sounds of discussion entered Ning Fan's ears. Gradually, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with determination. He would not give the first place to anyone. 2 more years. With a leap, he turned into a beam of light and went straight to the lower level of the tomb of the God of Sin. He only had one purpose in coming to the God of Tomb, which was to enter the last 3 levels of the God of Tomb with the Great Void token to search for the ancient Chaos inheritance. In the first 3 levels, he didn't stop at all and headed straight for the 4th level. The oval light gate that led to the 4th level had a trace of great sovereign Shen Kong's spirit sense. Only divine void realm cultivators could enter it. However, when Ning Fan took out the grave guarding token and cast a magic seal on it, the oval light gate in front of him immediately trembled slightly. He then took a step forward and entered the 4th level of the God of Tomb through the light gate. The 4th level was a few times bigger than the 3rd level. However, there were only 3,000 tombs on this level. Among them, there were 200 heavenly tombs and 800 earth tombs. The rest were human tombs that could be used for secluded cultivation. As soon as he entered this level, Ning Fan immediately spread out his spirit sense. In this level, almost all of the heavenly tombs were in a dormant state. Outside the earth tombs, there were occasionally many divine void realm disciples or tomb guardians who paid the sect contribution points or Dao crystals to enter the tombs. Ning Fan naturally did not want to stay in this level for long. After withdrawing his spirit sense, he immediately flew towards the teleportation gate that led to the 5th level. However, what he did not expect was that no matter how hard he tried to activate the graveguarding token, the teleportation gate only emitted a rumbling sound. It did not teleport him to the 5th level of the God of Tomb. Outside this teleportation gate, there was a massive red cloud. An early true crossing realm old man with a red face was sitting on top of the cloud. Hearing the rumbling sound coming from the teleportation gate, the red-faced old man narrowed his eyes and asked Ning Fan with a frown, "Are you the tomb guardian of this batch?" "Yes." Ning Fan gave the old man a deep look and answered. "You don't have a divine void realm disciple token?" The old man asked again. "No." "How much are the grave merit points?" "I don't have any grave merit points. If you only have a grave guarding token, you won't be qualified to enter the 5th level if your grave merit points are less than 100,000. Hasn't anyone told you about this before? You can leave now. After you accumulate enough grave merit points in the first 4 levels, come back here to activate the teleportation gate." The old man closed his eyes in displeasure. His attitude was arrogant and he no longer cared about Ning Fan. He was one of the 480 elders of the Godly Void Pavilion. Even though the ranking of the elders was lower, he was still considered to have a high status. Moreover, he had a cultivation base of the true crossing realm. Today, he was the guardian elder of this place. In his eyes, Ning Fan was just a ghost profound realm cultivator. He was just a junior. Thus, he naturally disdained to talk nonsense with Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not care about the old man's attitude. He looked at the grave guarding token in his hand and frowned slightly. As soon as he performed the incantation gesture, his name and grave merit points immediately appeared on the back of the token. His grave merit points were still 0. According to what the red-faced old man said, without 100,000 grave merit points, one would not be able to enter the 5th level of the Divine Tomb. This is really troublesome. In that case, I must accumulate enough grave merit points in this 4th level before I can enter the next level. Ning Fan's body swayed and immediately turned into a ray of light, directly flying towards one of the heavenly tombs in the 4th level. According to what Ning Fan knew, in the 4th level, one could obtain around 100 grave merit points by clearing an earth tomb. As for clearing a heavenly tomb, one could obtain 10,000, or even tens of thousands of grave merit points. Since he must accumulate 100,000 grave merit points, he might as well go and conquer a few heavenly tombs. Sensing the direction where Ning Fan was flying towards, the red-faced old man immediately opened his eyes. At first he was slightly surprised. Then he let out a cold harumph and said disdainfully, "He actually wants to challenge the heavenly tombs? With his peak ghost profound realm cultivation base? Could it be that this young man has gone crazy thinking about grave merit points? Even I was once defeated by the illusion of the Tomb Lord. How can this young man succeed in challenging the tombs?" The 4th level of the Divine Tomb, the Purple Lightning Heavenly Tomb. There were originally 200 heavenly tombs in the 4th level. Currently, most of them were in a dormant state. Only the last few heavenly tombs were still active and could still be opened. The remaining few heavenly tombs were also the most difficult ones in the 4th level. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for them to remain unconquered until today. In order to open the Purple Lightning Heavenly Tomb, each person had to pay 1 million Dao crystals, and the cultivation base limit was early True Crossing Realm. At the moment, 170 to 80 cultivators had gathered outside the Purple Lightning Tomb. They were divided into 4 groups and each of them was sitting on the ground in meditation. Some of the 4 groups of cultivators were busy recovering their magic power, while some were busy treating their injuries. Most of these cultivators were tomb guards. There were also some who were not tomb guards but cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion. Each of the 4 groups had gathered 40 to 50 life immortal realm cultivators, and challenged the Purple Lightning Tomb one after another. All 4 groups of cultivators had failed the challenge 4 times. Half of the cultivators were injured during the challenge. There were even a few life immortal realm cultivators who died, because they were too slow in retreating from the Tomb Palace. Motherfucker. Old Fifth Ma, why do you think the Purple Lightning Heavenly Tomb is so terrifying? Even if the illusion of the Tomb Lord has an early True Crossing Realm cultivation base, it is still a being with low spiritual intelligence after all. How can it be so powerful? We have a total of 32 Mortal Profound Realm cultivators, and 18 Ghost Profound Realm cultivators, but we can't even take it down. Instead, one of our fellow Taoists has died. The leader of one of the groups of cultivators was a burly man with bare arms. His cultivation base was at the peak Ghost Profound Realm. If it's not difficult, why hasn't anyone conquered this tomb palace until today? The leader of the other group of cultivators was an old man with a scar on his face. He let out a long sigh after hearing what Ning Fan said. His group was even worse. 2 of their Mortal Profound Realm cultivators had died in the tomb palace. Just as the group of cultivators was sighing, Ning Fan descended from the sky and directly landed at the entrance of the Purple Lightning Tomb Palace. Ning Fan scanned the information of the tomb with his spirit sense. After pondering for a while, he immediately took out 1 million Dao crystals and opened the entrance of the Tomb Palace. Another one who seeks his own death. He's just a peak Ghost Profound Realm cultivator. How dare he challenge this tomb alone? The burly man with bare arms immediately sneered in disdain. Among the cultivators present, countless of them shook their heads. No one thought that Ning Fan could pass through the Purple Lightning Heavenly Tomb with his own strength. There was only one person who recognized Ning Fan. It was an elderly man in yellow robes. His cultivation base was at the peak Ghost Profound Realm. He was none other than Huang Xuanzi, who Ning Fan had met once on the 3rd level of the Divine Tomb. This person might not necessarily fail to pass through this Purple Lightning Tomb Palace. Huang Xuanzi suddenly stood up and looked at the entrance of the tomb. His eyes were filled with shock. Him? A peak Ghost Profound Realm cultivator? Just as the burly man was about to retort to Huang Xuanzi, his expression changed in the next moment. Just 3 breaths after Ning Fan stepped into the tomb, the miserable shriek of the Tomb Lord's illusion resounded from the tomb palace. On the 5th breath, the shriek began to weaken. On the 7th breath, the shriek completely stopped. On the 10th breath, the tomb door opened. Ning Fan held the purple lightning relic in his hand and stepped out of the tomb door, returning to the outside world. As for the purple lightning tomb palace, it gradually fell into silence. Silence meant that it was broken by someone at this moment. All the cultivators present wore shocked expressions, as if they had seen something unbelievable. At this moment, even Huang Xuanzi, who had great confidence in Ning Fan, opened his mouth wide. He could not believe the scene in front of him. At this moment, the red-faced old man who was sitting on the red cloud exclaimed in shock. Just 10 breaths. How is this possible? This young man only used 10 breaths to kill the tomb lord of the purple lightning tomb, who was at the true enlightenment realm. A strong sense of astonishment filled the red-faced old man's heart. The disdain he had towards Ning Fan just now was not only swept away, but it immediately turned into deep respect. The red-faced old man knew that even if he goes all out, he would not be a match for the tomb lord of the purple lightning tomb. Ning Fan, on the other hand, killed the tomb lord within 10 breaths. Such strength was far beyond the red-faced old man's reach. Just as everyone's eyes were fixed on Ning Fan, he leaped into the air and flew towards another heavenly tomb that was not far away from him that had not fallen into silence yet. This time, Ning Fan broke through the second heavenly tomb in just 10 breaths. Then he proceeded to the third, the fourth and the fifth heavenly tomb. After passing through 9 heavenly tombs in a row, Ning Fan immediately leaped into the air and flew towards the teleportation portal that led to the 5th floor. The 200 heavenly tombs on the 4th floor had all fallen into a state of silence. After passing through 9 heavenly tombs, he was rewarded with a total of 170,000 merit points. With this amount of merit points, it was enough for him to activate the teleportation portal and enter the 5th floor. As for the 9 4-star relics that he obtained from passing through the 9 heavenly tombs, Ning Fan did not attach too much importance to them. Ning Fan arrived at the teleportation portal again. This time, the red-faced old man did not dare to neglect him. He immediately stood up and cupped his fists towards him. Fellow Taoist, I have never seen you before. May I know your name? Which force do you belong to? Heavenly Sea Star Ning Fan. Ning Fan replied indifferently. Then he immediately stepped into the teleportation portal and vanished without a trace. After hearing Ning Fan's words, the red-faced old man's expression changed once again. Heavenly Sea Star. He's the tomb guard of the Luo clan, the Battle King. In this tomb competition, the Luo clan, the Battle King, will definitely get a good ranking. With his strength, I'm afraid it won't be difficult for him to enter the top 20. Ning Fan. Ning Fan. This name sounds so familiar. That's right. It's him. Devil Monarch Thousand Autumns Ning Fan. 8 years ago he scared the blood slave, Yuan Kuang, away with a single sword strike. He's also the person who learned the Divine Blast technique and slaughtered 100 immortals in the Yao Sec Star region. It's him. With the help of the Divine Blast technique, it won't be difficult for him to enter the top 5. It's also highly possible for him to obtain the first place in this tomb competition. There were 1,000 human tombs, 500 earth tombs and 100 heavenly tombs in the 5th floor of the Divine Tomb. As soon as Ning Fan entered the 5th floor, he flew towards the teleportation portal that led to the 6th floor without saying a word. There was also an elder guarding the teleportation portal of this floor. He was an elderly sword cultivator who had a mid-crossing truth cultivation base. Ning Fan gave it a try. With the token of 170,000 merit points, he could not teleport to the 6th floor. You won't be able to enter the 6th floor with less than 500,000 merit points. The elderly sword cultivator at the side suddenly said indifferently. He was not as arrogant as the red-faced elderly man, but he did not pay too much attention to Ning Fan either. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately closed his eyes and continued his cultivation. 500,000, huh? Ning Fan scanned the tomb palace with his spirit sense and immediately flew towards one of the heavenly tombs that had not yet fallen asleep. In this world of the 5th floor, there were still 17 heavenly tombs that no one had yet to challenge. Outside each of the heavenly tombs, there were many life immortal realm cultivators who were gathering their men. They were preparing to challenge the heavenly tombs after gathering 50 people. The fifth floor of the divine tomb, the Snow Devil Heavenly Tomb. Outside the Heavenly Tomb, there was a group of cultivators who were preparing to challenge the tombs. The leader of this group of cultivators was a cultivator who had half a step into the crossing truth realm. Very good. We already have 50 fellow Taoists here. Finally, we can start to challenge this Snow Devil Heavenly Tomb. Now let me introduce the abilities of the master of this tomb. The illusory Snow Devil in this tomb is at the early crossing truth realm. He is good at using the snow blowing technique. If you don't have an ice-resisting treasure, I'm afraid it will be difficult to defend against his attacks. Before the leader of the cultivators could finish his words, he suddenly saw Ning Fan descending from the sky like a ray of light. He directly opened the door of the tomb, as if he wanted to challenge the tomb before them. All of a sudden, the leader's expression darkened, and he snorted coldly. Where did this Gui Xian come from? He doesn't know the rules, and he dares to challenge the tomb alone. Does he not want to live anymore? As soon as he finished speaking, the leader no longer looked at the tomb palace behind him. In his opinion, it was impossible for Ning Fan to succeed in challenging the tomb alone. However, in less than 3 breaths, the miserable shriek of the Snow Devil resounded from within the tomb palace. On the 7th breath, the shriek completely stopped. On the 10th breath, Ning Fan reappeared in front of everyone with the Snow Devil relic in his hand. The 5 stars relic is still useless. The master of the 5th floor of the Heavenly Tomb is slightly stronger than the one on the 4th floor, but there is still a limit. The master of the Heavenly Tomb is an illusion after all. He is a dead object. Compared to the real Du Jun, he is much weaker. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan turned into a ray of light and flew towards the second Heavenly Tomb under everyone's shocked gaze. 10 breaths. 10 breaths. 10 breaths. Each of the Heavenly Tombs in this place could only stop Ning Fan for 10 breaths. After Ning Fan conquered all of the 17 tomb palaces here, his merit points had already reached 630,000. Who is this person? Since when did such a tomb guardian appear in this tomb competition? He only needs 10 breaths to challenge the Heavenly Tomb. Each of the life immortal realm old monsters' eyes fell upon the tomb guardian token in Ning Fan's hand. All of them were astonished, especially the leader of the cultivators. At this moment, his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. This young man is very strong. The eyes of the elderly sword cultivator, who was guarding the teleportation door, immediately flashed. When Ning Fan arrived at the teleportation door again, he immediately stood up and cupped his fists at Ning Fan without saying anything. Ning Fan also cupped his fists at him. Then he took a step forward and was teleported to the 6th floor of the Divine Tomb. On the 6th floor of the Divine Tomb, there was also a giant monument which was the same as the one on the 1st floor. At this moment, there were many strong second-step cultivators standing below the monument. Each of them was staring at the monument in shock. Just now, a name suddenly appeared on the monument. It rose from the 4,000th place to the 52nd place. Ning Fan. Is he the person who shocked Yuan Kuang with his sword 8 years ago? The successor of the divine blasting technique. Devil Monarch Thousand Autumns Ning Fan. At the moment Ning Fan stepped into the 6th floor, many spirit scents swept towards him. Some of the life immortal realm experts were holding an ancient arrest warrant. They pointed at Ning Fan, who was standing in the sky, and exclaimed, "It's him. He is Devil Monarch Thousand Autumns." Chapter 825. Thousand Autumns Demon Lord. Many of the cultivators here had witnessed the scene where Ning Fan shocked Yuan Kuang with a single sword strike 8 years ago. Of course, they recognized that Ning Fan was Devil Lord Thousand Autumns. However, in their memories, Ning Fan was just a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator at that time. But now, he was at the peak of the ghost profound realm. Demon Monarch Thousand Autumns cultivation speed is terrifying. Many life immortals were shocked. There were also some people who looked doubtful. It's impossible to cultivate from the middle stage of the ghost profound realm to the peak in 8 years, no matter how many treasures there are. Perhaps this person was originally at the peak of the ghost mystic realm. and he was just hiding his cultivation when he killed Yuan Kuang. Ning Fan did not care about the discussions of the cultivators here. As soon as he entered the 6th floor, Ning Fan immediately flew towards the teleportation portal that led to the 7th floor. The teleportation door leading to the 7th floor wasn't purple, but black. The door was tightly sealed, and the fiendish aura within it was extremely dense, ghastly, and terrifying. It was completely different from the aura of the previous 6 floors. As soon as they saw Ning Fan heading straight for the 7th floor, many cultivators were shocked. Could it be that Demon Lord Thousand Autumns wants to go to the last 3 levels? Could it be that he has the Void Token? The last 3 layers of the Mausoleum world are completely different from the first 6 layers. There are also the Heaven, Earth, and Human tombs, as well as tomb merit points. However, there are also countless demonic creatures from the Well of Contracts. Even if this person has the Void Token, if he rashly enters, he will most likely die. The one guarding the black door was a green-eyed old man with shedding void initial stage cultivation. He was an elder ranked in the top 50 of the Godly Void Pavilion. Seeing Ning Fan rushing towards the black door, the green-eyed old man opened his eyes slightly. After sensing the chi of the Peak Ghost Profound Realm Cultivator, he was slightly surprised. "Who are you? What's the matter?" The blue-eyed old man's eyes turned sharp. A powerful aura of the void-rending realm immediately swept towards Ning Fan. Under that kind of aura, even Du Jun's chi would become chaotic. However, Ning Fan remained calm and collected. He patted his storage pouch and took out the Void Token and the Grave Guarding Token, showing them to the old man. "Void Token. The Tomb Keeper of the War King Luo family. You're not one of the top 10 cultivators of any tomb competition, so it's impossible for you to have the Void Token. Where did you get it from? Could it be from the Luo family?" The blue-eyed old man's eyes became sharper and the aura force that was pressing down on Ning Fan became even more vast. However, Ning Fan was not affected by it at all and said indifferently, "Where did this token come from? It doesn't seem to have much to do with entering the 7th floor. Senior, please open the sealed door. Junior wishes to enter the 7th floor. You do have some magical abilities to be able to resist my aura with your Ghost Xian cultivation, but your cultivation is still too low. The 7th level is not a place you should go. Entering without permission meant certain death. If you insist on entering, this old man will not stop you and will naturally open the door for you. However, you must pass this old man's test." "What kind of test?" Ning Fan's eyes narrowed and asked. The blue-eyed old man withdrew his aura and took a deep look. He stood in the clouds with his hands clasped behind his back. "I'll stand here without moving. If you can force me to move half a step with your divine abilities, or if you can protect yourself, then you'll be qualified to enter the 7th level. If you don't have this strength, entering the 7th floor is equivalent to courting death." As soon as he finished speaking, the blue-eyed old man looked at Ning Fan quietly, waiting for him to make his move. Ning Fan gave the old man a deep look and remained silent. All of a sudden, he patted the soul pouch on his waist. The countless fallen primordial spirits in the soul pouch immediately filled the sky. Ning Fan performed a hand seal, and all of the primordial spirits showed signs of self-detonation. Spirit Blast Technique. The blue-eyed old man's eyes were filled with shock. There was even a hint of hidden greed that flashed across his eyes. After a while, he finally said, "With the number of primordial spirits you have now, it's enough to deter a late true crossing realm cultivator. If you enter the 7th floor, you'll have some strength to protect yourself. Entering the 8th floor is equivalent to courting death. If you enter the 9th floor, you'll definitely die." As soon as he finished speaking, the blue-eyed old man took out a formation compass and performed a hand seal. Immediately, more than half of the seal on the black door disappeared, but it did not completely disappear. He then took out a jade slip and passed it to Ning Fan. His face revealed a hint of kindness and said, "This jade slip contains some information about the last 3 floors of the Divine Tomb. Little friend, you can take it and have a look. Now you can enter." As soon as the blue-eyed old man finished speaking, he sat down cross-legged again and closed his eyes, ignoring Ning Fan. Ning Fan scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense. His expression did not change, but his heart felt a chill. The content of this jade slip did contain some information about the last 3 floors of the divine tomb. He already knew some of them, but he did not know some of them. However, this blue-eyed old man did not give him this jade slip out of goodwill. After keeping the jade slip, Ning Fan activated the void token and stepped into the black door. After teleporting for a while, Ning Fan was teleported to the 7th floor of the divine tomb. At this moment, he was standing on a high platform which was protected by formation light. There was a door in the middle of the platform. He only needed to pass through this door to leave the 7th floor and return to the outside world. This high platform was built on the peak of a devil mountain. Above the vast sky, it was filled with gloomy qi. Under the devil mountain, there were countless ancient tomb palaces. Each of them contained a heavy qi. There were many tomb palaces in this place. They were not divided according to the 3 categories of heaven, earth and human. The tomb palaces here did not require Dao crystals to be activated, but it required the consumption of the void token. Entering any of the tomb palaces in the last 3 floors would consume a void token. The tomb palaces here did not have any restrictions on cultivation base. The dangers in the tombs were also different. It was hard to tell if one would be dead or alive after entering recklessly. The world of the 7th floor was extremely vast. Its territory was almost the size of the entire Imperial Star region. Countless killing intent was hidden in the Black Mountain and Devil Water. The last 3 floors were different from the first 6 floors. There were countless devil creatures inside, and they would attack any cultivator who enters this place. In the 7th floor, there were countless second-step devil creatures. There were life immortals and duzhen. Vaguely, there were also void-shedding devil creatures. The ancient chaotic tomb is at the bottom floor. The yin-yang locket would send out its senses from time to time. It was very vague, as if it was being interfered by the qi of countless ancient tombs. It could not pinpoint the exact location of the ancient chaotic tomb. However, it was certain that the ancient chaotic tomb was at the bottom floor of the divine tomb. Ning Fan did not leave the high platform immediately. He took out the 2 jade slips given by Shadi and carefully sensed them. In the 7th floor of the divine tomb, Shadi's jade slips seemed to be interfered with. By activating the jade slips, he could not summon the ancient puppets or Shadi to this place. However, by slightly activating the yin-yang locket, Ning Fan could still enter the profound yin world from this place. The jade slips can't be used here. Fortunately, I still have Ghost Face, the profound yin world, and the ancient devil puppets. I still have other means to protect myself. Ning Fan kept Shadi's jade slips and finally stepped out of the high platform of the formation. The moment he appeared in the outside world, 4 black shadows carrying gusts of chilly wind charged at him from the Yin Mountains. These 4 gusts of chilly wind were all second-step devil creatures. They looked half human and half ghost, and were at the early human profound realm. 3 of the black shadows opened their bloody mouths and tried to swallow Ning Fan alive. Only one of the black shadows breathed out billowing black mist at Ning Fan. That black mist was tainted with deadly poison. You're courting death. Ning Fan's eyes turned sharp. He suddenly flicked his sleeve, and an illusory sword light immediately flew out from his sleeve and split into 4. As the 4 rays of sword light flashed, the 4 black shadows were killed by the sword light. Their corpses fell from the sky and their blood flowed out. 4 black primordial spirits that were on the verge of death dashed out from their corpses and charged at Ning Fan fearlessly. Ning Fan changed his hand seal. Immediately, 108,000 swords slashed across the gloomy sky. After a while, Ning Fan withdrew his sword light. The 4 black primordial spirits were already riddled with thousands of holes, and they no longer looked human. Even so, the 4 black primordial spirits were still baring their fangs at Ning Fan. The ferocious glint in their eyes did not diminish. Ning Fan bent his palm and beckoned the 4 black primordial spirits into his palm. First, he searched their souls and memories. Then he refined them using a secret technique and kept them in his soul pouch. All the devil creatures in this place have primordial spirits. These primordial spirits can be used as a medium to cast the soul blast technique. However, they don't have any memories, so I can search their souls. The devil creatures in this place are extremely aggressive. Unless they are completely killed, as long as they still have a breath left, They will attack any cultivator who enters this place. Ning Fan's eyes moved slightly. In just a short period of time, he had a general understanding of the devil creatures in this place. After pondering for a moment, a heavenly green rain intent appeared in his eyes. He performed another hand seal. Immediately, an endless curtain of rain spread rapidly in all directions with him as the center. The place where the rain fell was the place where Ning Fan's spirit sense could sense. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could at least cover the range of an entire mid-grade star region by spreading his spirit sense using the heaven-peering rain technique. Even so, he did not manage to find the location of the teleportation gate to the 8th level nearby. It was also extremely difficult to determine the direction of the lower level with the help of the yin-yang locket. There were too many disturbances in this place. I can only search for it slowly, huh? If that's the case, I'll solve another problem first. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. After confirming a direction, he immediately flew towards it. Each of the tomb palaces in the 7th level contained the inheritance of the 7 stars fiend god cultivation method. When he passed by these tomb palaces, he would only spread out his spirit sense and casually cast a glance at them. He did not pay too much attention to them. After flying for 3 days, Ning Fan finally landed on a wasteland that was filled with dense devil chi. During these 3 days, he had killed more than 50 life immortal realm devil creatures. He even killed one early true crossing realm devil creature. After 3 days, Ning Fan's magical power had been severely depleted. Finally, he decided to come to this wasteland to recover his magical power. Naturally, the reason why he came to this wasteland was to solve another problem. As soon as he landed, Ning Fan immediately raised his eyes and looked at a certain dark cloud in the sky. His eyes gradually flashed with cold light. Senior has been following me for 3 days. Are you still not going to show yourself? As soon as Ning Fan's voice faded, a crack appeared in the sky. An illusory sword shadow instantly flew out from the crack and turned into 108,000 swords, slashing towards the dark cloud. The dark cloud was slashed by the sword light and immediately exploded, turning into an old man with blue eyes. His eyes carried a hint of surprise. He was Elder Shikong who was guarding the Black Gate. Hee little friend, your senses are really sharp. You can even sense my presence. You're indeed worthy of being chosen by the Battle King Luo clan. However, this ability is still a little weak. Break. The blue-eyed old man suddenly shouted. A strong aura force of the early shedding void realm immediately spread out like a wild wind, directly destroying all 108,000 illusory sword shadows. When the sword shadows were destroyed, the memory-severing Dao sword immediately trembled and fell from the sky. Ning Fan raised his palm and kept it. His expression was still without any fear, even though he knew that this blue-eyed old man had ulterior motives. Little friend, you seem to be very calm. Do you know that the reason I came here today is to kill you? The blue-eyed old man looked down at Ning Fan, as if he was looking at an ant, and sneered. I know. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out a jade slip. He crushed it into powder. This jade slip was given to him by the blue-eyed old man previously. An extremely obscure mark was planted on it for tracking. Even an ordinary Dujin would not be able to see through the mark. However, to the current Ning Fan, it was naturally not difficult to see through the mark of the shedding void realm. Oh. It seems like you already knew that my jade slip is a trap? The blue-eyed old man's eyes turned gloomy. After a while he sneered again. You know that I have ulterior motives, but you still accepted the jade slip. You're really stupid. The blue-eyed old man's expression was full of disdain. As he raised his hand, green flames rose to the sky and sealed the surrounding space. By sealing the space, he naturally wanted to block all of Ning Fan's escape routes. Are you going to hand over the Spirit Blast technique yourself, or force me to search your soul? His eyes were full of confidence. With his shedding void realm cultivation base, there was no reason for him to fail when he ambushed Ning Fan, who was just a spirit profound realm cultivator. The only trouble was that after killing Ning Fan, he might arouse the anger of the Battle King Luo clan. However, as long as he did this secretly, no one would know that he was the one who killed Ning Fan. Even if this matter was exposed, he still had the 8th elder behind him. Why would he be afraid of the Battle King Luo clan? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.